Okay, folks, we are back. Another episode of Street to Strategy, episode 33. Last week, Patty's episode was phenomenal. 1,600 views in less than a week. She did a phenomenal job. Behind the scenes, I'm trying to make some moves. We're going to try to bring on Patty's attorney and hear his story, which I know is going to be phenomenal. Also, my book, actually go to Barnes & Noble if you want to get a copy of my book. That's the best way to get it right now. Welcome to the show that never ends. This week, we're doing something different. Probably my biggest supporter of this podcast is a former guest of mine, Geno Garcia. He's going to be the host today. I'm going to be your guest. So without any further ado, Geno, welcome to the show. Thank you for stepping in, and let's get to it.
Hey, I appreciate it, Jay. And I just want to say for the folks at home, to all of your loyal viewers and subscribers, it's truly an honor to step into this role. I actually think this is perfect timing for this episode, based on all the traction that you've gotten. It's a testament to all of your hard work, the hard work of your team, to all of your loyal supporters who've been there since day one, and most importantly, every single one of your guests. They've all been amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Told phenomenal stories, and I can't speak highly enough about what you're doing. I've had some people reach out to me over the last couple of days after Patty's episode who don't necessarily know who you are, asking about your upbringing. You know, what's your history? What's this guy's platform? What's this guy's experience? And like I said, I think this is perfect timing to address all that. I know a lot of your loyal subscribers have been here since day one, but there are a couple who have just started to follow the channel. So I think this is going to be a great episode for you to maybe peel back some layers and get down to some things that even some of your most loyal friends might not know about you.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's get to it.
All right, man.
We're going to give Mr. Jason McWilliams an intro here. Some lives are measured in years, others in impact. And then there are those rare individuals whose journey becomes a bridge between service, sacrifice, and transformation. Today, we step into the story of a man who has not only worn the badge, but carried its extremely heavy weight with purpose for more than 2 decades. From the streets of Visalia to courtrooms, classrooms, and communities in need, his path has been anything but ordinary. With over 25 years in law enforcement and investigations, he has stood on the front lines of patrol, moved through the intensity of tactical operations, and navigated the complex world of gang intelligence and financial crime. He is a court-certified expert in gangs, juvenile justice, and financial investigations. Yet what truly defines him is not just what he knows, but how he uses it. He is a mentor to the next generation, a protector in moments of crisis, and an investigator who sees beyond the surface into the truth that others might miss. As a youth service officer, he didn't just enforce safety, he built trust, guiding young lives away from danger and toward possibility. As a firearms instructor, he shaped not just skill, but discipline and responsibility. His journey extends beyond the badge. With both a bachelor's in criminal justice management and a master's in education, he has fused knowledge with experience, turning lessons from the field into wisdom he now shares as a speaker, an instructor, an author, and host of this amazing podcast. Whether in a classroom, a courtroom, or behind a microphone, his voice carries the weight of lived experience and the clarity of someone who has seen both the worst and the best of humanity. Today, he currently is the host of this podcast and an author of his first book, Welcome to the Show That Never Ends. This is not just a career, it is his destiny. His journey has brought him to this table. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Jason J. McWilliams.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. You know, every time I hear one of these, I get emotional. And when I even hear it about myself, sitting here just thinking about where I come from and where I sit right now, man, dude, I might as well have been living on the fucking moon, dude. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it shocks me, man.
You have definitely come a long way, my friend. So why don't you take us back to the beginning? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing in Tulare and what did that world look like for you?
Well, my mom and dad divorced when I was 5, and it was a very awful divorce. And my dad was a bail bondsman, a private investigator, and a bounty hunter, and he literally scared the death out of my mom. He actually threatened to kill her. And my mom believed him. So my mom actually took us to Fresno. We hid out in some really shady apartments for a couple months while they were going through their divorce. But then once their divorce was done, my dad immediately got remarried. And so I didn't talk to my dad from the time I was 5 until I was 25. And my mom was on welfare, so we always lived in like rundown, shady neighborhoods. So here's what happened to me, though. I had red hair and freckles. And I can honestly say this. I was mean as a kid because I was pissed off. My old man wasn't around. He didn't want nothing to do with me. And I fought a lot. And so I got kicked out of school a lot, man. I fought all through grade school. My mom was on welfare the whole time. We always lived just in the worst neighborhoods. And I hated it. I hated being poor, dude.
You fighting all the time in school, was that somewhat of an adverse effect of your father and the way that he treated you and your mother? Was that acting out of anger?
Big time. I was pissed off. I was pissed off that he wasn't around. I was pissed off that we were poor. I was pissed off that I had red hair because I didn't look like everybody else. I mean, when I say red hair, man, I'm talking fire engine red, dude. And, when kids would make fun of me, and I was swinging. And you know what? And it was... I look back on it, and when I run into people now from those times, they're like, dude, you're a cop, Jay? And they're like, man, you were mean when we were young. And I was like, it was because I had to be. Later on in life, it served me well because I had no fear.
Right. Dealing with conflict at an early age will teach you a lot of life lessons early, and especially how you ended up. So how do you think those early experiences and lessons taught you about life in general, and how did it shape who you are today?
I can tell you this, and I realized no psychologist ever had to tell me this, but I realized it myself. Why do you think I'm never comfortable and I'm always striving to do something? I think a lot of times I'm still that little boy trying to show my dad, hey man, fuck you, right?
Right.
And so I'm always trying to, that's why I went and got the master's degree. I went and got the teaching credential. I went and became the private investigator. I started this pod. I'm an author. I'm writing my next book. I'm always doing something. I'm never comfortable resting on my laurels. And I think a lot of that comes back to the fact my dad wasn't around. And my dad was wealthy, man. My dad had private planes and, he was a pilot and he got to do all this cool shit. And me and my mom are living over and my sister are living in ghetto fab, man. And he was paying my mom a lousy $150 a month in child support, making fat bank.
Well, don't you find it interesting and a little bit ironic that the people who end up becoming successful later on in life always seem to be battling demons from a younger version of themselves?
100%, bro. And you know what? And I said this before, man, but by the time I was 12 years old, dude, I was smarter than my mom. And it created a lot of rift between me and my mom, because...
Because she's still mom, and no matter what, she's always going to be right.
Correct. And I would be like, hey, mom, you're doing this wrong. Don't do that, And so my mom, it was very often my mom would be like, hey, man, shut the fuck up. I'm the mom. You're the kid. But it would be like, and my mom was pretty pissed off. Like my dad was married 9 times. My mom never remarried. And after my dad, in fact, my mom didn't have a boyfriend the whole time I was growing up. My mom ended up hating men because of my dad.
Was there anybody in your life during those early years who stepped in and became maybe mentors to you or taught you anything about responsibility and resilience?
Believe it or not, it was self-taught because here's the thing. I got heavily into skateboarding and I had this group of friends, but I was the glue, right? that kept us out of trouble.
When you say us, Jay, who are we talking about?
Like it was me and 4 dudes, 4 guys. We all skateboarded. We ate, slept, lived, breathed skateboarding. For 7 years, that's all I thought about was skateboarding and girls, right? And I will tell you this. If you'd have talked to me at 16 years old, I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. By the time I was 19, I knew I had to get out of these neighborhoods. I was living in a heavy norteño apartment complex. They were already starting to kind of mess with me, and that's what made me take off to the military.
Right. So I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit. Your military service.
Yeah.
So before the badge, before the titles, who was Jay McWilliams?
I've always been nice, and I've always been a leader, but I always had this current underneath me of being pissed off about my situation. You know, not having, it's really hard to watch other people have stuff when you have nothing. And so I was pretty upset and I was pissed. But I realize now the one good thing it did for me is I realized at an early age, poor sucks.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not going to put myself in this position. Come hell or high water, it's going to happen. And, even my time in the military, it wasn't all fun and games. I got to do some great stuff and see a lot of great stuff. But I will tell you this, I wasn't making a lot of, I was bringing home $900 a month in the Navy.
Right.
But I got to live. If it was a condo, my view would have been a $5 million condo because I was right there on the bay, dude, on the Alameda side. And I got to meet some great guys. But all it did was this. I knew, and I didn't know I was going to be a cop until I was getting out of the military. But I knew this, somehow, some way, somewhere, I'm not going to end up in these bad neighborhoods and I'm not going to be poor. That was set in stone inside my heart.
All right. So was there anything that happened during that time? Was it pre-military, intra-military, post-military, where you thought to yourself, law enforcement is my path. That's the way I'm going to go?
Yeah. So when I was in the military, there was a lot of things that started pushing me towards that way. Just, there was I had some mentors in the military where people are like, Jay, you got this way about you that, you should think about law enforcement. So when I was getting out of the military in 95, I applied to the Highway Patrol. If you'd have talked to me in 95, I was going to be a Highway Patrol.
Right.
But guess what? Affirmative action clipped that real quick.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something, Geno. It was a gut punch.
It
was a gut punch.
And I know exactly what you mean because I have gotten plenty of those letters. Thank you, but no thank you.
Yes.
And just the overwhelming feeling of self-disappointment. Like
Big
I'm not
time.
only letting myself down, but I'm letting everybody else around me who loves me, who supports me. Man, those letters suck.
Well, and I called my background investigator because back then it took about 1.5 years to get through that Highway Patrol process, right? And I called my background investigator and goes, hey, let me make some calls to Sacramento. And he called me back and I go, hey, man, when am I going to get to go to the academy? And he goes, never. Apply again in 3 years. Geno, dude, I'm not going to lie. I actually cried. I cried.
Well, I don't know if you can share this experience. I'm sure because you are an extremely intelligent gentleman and very well spoken. I could only assume you test very well, especially when it comes to the oral interview panels and whatnot. I always had that going in my favor too. So I'd always come out and they'd give you, some of these agencies that I applied for would send you letters prior to the thank you, but no thank you. And they would rank you. And I remember scoring extremely high on almost every oral panel that I took while applying for these agencies. And to get that on top of, you get this from this high to this low. And I never really had an explanation. At least you had an explanation. Warranted or not, you still
think
had.
About me, dude. I got a 90 on my oral. Then they gave me 5 points for being a vet. So now I'm 95, bro.
Right.
And I still didn't get
Hey man, some things were not meant to be, and
No,
you
they're
ended
not.
up right where you were supposed to be, brother. So
100%.
I'm sure, I'm sure you would agree. So, just overall in general service, what does service mean to you when you first stepped into it, and how has that definition of service evolved throughout the years?
You know what? Service has been in my heart since I was a little boy. But once I got into law enforcement, and this is going to come across as almost arrogant, but the minute I became a cop, I don't know how it happened, but I was just really good at it. I was good at it from jump because I had no fear.
How old were you?
I became a cop at 26 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, getting ready to be. I was, in fact, I was getting ready to turn 27, and anyways, man, but I already had some life experience. So, man, I stepped into it, man, and I was just good at it. And I was better than a lot of the guys that I worked with. And I think but it services in my heart, bro. And it's something that I can't get rid of because and this is going to sound cliche, but it's totally true. It's in my bones.
Right.
Like, I was born to be in service of others. I was born to protect people. Right. I was born to be out here putting my life on the line, risking it for people that can't or won't protect themselves. And it's something that I take extremely serious. I like to use my skills and my intellect. I like to use it in service of others. It's something that's in me, Geno. I wake up with it. I go to bed with it. People call me sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, ask me legal questions, ask me private investigator stuff, and I never miss a chance to help people because I wish I would have had a me when I was them.
Right. So I'm sure you didn't step into your first day as a police officer on patrol wearing your Superman vest, right?
No.
So talk me through some of that. Talk us through some of that, those early days on patrol, your first day on patrol. What kind of emotions were you going through? Were you uncertain? Was there a lot of adrenaline? Was there fear? Talk us through those emotions of your very first day on patrol.
Yeah, my very first day was with Tulare PD, and it was with a guy named Geno McFratridge. Huh. And Geno is a law enforcement legend in this area.
Right.
And, Geno's the type of guy you can't help but just love him immediately. He's got this easygoing way about him. He really took me under his wing. He showed me a lot. By the end of our FTO, his voice was worn out from all the talking that we had done, and he really helped me out. But I could tell you something. Back then, Tulare PD was a tough organization to get hired by. Their field training was extremely tough. Very, very aggressive agency. Far more aggressive than Visalia. Different agencies. But anyways, dude, those first couple days, you know what I realized? I almost knew less than nothing.
I always hear this from police officers, and I can attest to this as well, and I'm sure you'll have some stories. They always say that your first FTO makes the most impression on you, good, bad, or indifferent. I personally had two FTOs throughout the course of my career. Obviously, my first one, Jeff McAnally, Lindsay Police Department. He shaped the course of my career very early on, probably for those first 5 years. And my second FTO that I recall, and I had a ton of FTOs, and this doesn't take anything away from them, but I'm talking about two that were very impactful, not only in my professional life, but my personal life. Jeff McAnally and Bill Brokoff from the Visalia Police Department. Yeah. He was my primary FTO in Visalia, and I had some experience. I had about 5 years of experience when I went to Visalia Police Department, and he taught me things that I had no idea about. And he shaped the latter part of my career. And
Gunny was a good dude, man.
He taught me what it was to be a professional. And like we talked about early on in the episode that I appeared on your podcast, that throughout the course of my career, I really, really struggled with professionalism and grasping what that meant. But Bill, he was the epitome, in my opinion, of professionalism.
Very squared away.
Dialed in, squared away cat, man. So how did you start to gain confidence throughout your career?
You know what? How it really started was this. That first year, because I got hired in that year where they hired 22 officers. Dude, but people were lasting like a month, 2 months, 3 months. And, before I knew it, man, I had a year. And so that's where I started. Because you know this, I don't think you really grasp what it really means to be a police officer until you got about 3 years under your belt.
Do you believe in that 5-year phase? The first 5 years where you're trying to figure things out, that 5 to 10 years where you kind of dial it in, you figure out who you are as a person, as a police officer, and then that latter part of your career from 10 years on to however long that we can survive?
Well, when I left Tulare, I went to work for the county. So I worked at Wiley, man, and I was in ad sed. So I was working with all those gangsters.
Okay.
And what it did was, man, by the time I came to Visalia, I was already hip to the game when it came to gangsters, more so than a lot of the dudes I worked with in patrol.
Right. And you know what else that does too? Because I also started my career in the custody division at the sheriff's department. It teaches you a little bit about communication with your coworkers, about the chain of command, about expectations, standards of procedure, and then the ins and outs of the political vibe that comes with those types of agencies, right?
Big time. So like honestly, FTO is never fun because you're being graded, you're being evaluated and all that. So it wasn't a good time. But once I got on my own, then I gravitated towards officers that really kind of had their shit together. And then those dudes really, like, Dominic Minna, Ron Epp, those dudes, they kind of took me under their wing, showed me a lot of stuff that then, before I knew it, I had 5 years on.
And those are all great guys that you just mentioned too, guys that you really want to kind of mimic and imitate.
Oh, yeah, squared away, dudes. Plus, both of them, they both had master's degrees, highly educated.
Right.
These guys, I used to call them bookends because, they're both like, 6'4",
right.
250, 60 pounds. And then there was me in the middle. You know what I mean?
But they were big old teddy bears. Those guys were big until you pissed them off.
Yeah.
But those guys were just very, very good. Not only good cops, but really good people.
Big time.
As you kind of, progressed and found yourself in your career, was there one call that you can remember that has stuck with you throughout your days?
Yeah, there's one on here I'd really like to tell, but I can't. But I will tell you this. Probably the day that I saw Kevin Grant shoot Donnie Boucher during that big melee, I was about 7 to 10 feet away from that. But, Gibby had shot the tires out. I was running up, and then he lets loose with that fully automatic weapon. Man, that was something, Geno. This is going to sound weird. I still dream about it. I still think about it. I just talked to Kevin not too long ago.
And Kevin Grant is just a fucking stud. I mean, there is no other way to describe him.
Well, he's a Visalia legend.
Yeah,
but I will tell you this, that call, there was just something because we were leaving a homicide. Now we're in a car chase with Donnie Boucher, who had just shot, he had shot a highway patrolman. And that whole day, dude, our chief almost died. He had a heart attack from that day. In fact,
who was it, Barker?
No, that was Bob Williams.
Okay.
And if they hadn't put those defibrillators in, he would be dead.
Right. That incident made statewide media, right?
Yeah, it was a big deal.
That went crazy. That stays with you, but why? Was there certain emotion? Was it fear? Was it adrenaline? Was it shock?
I think all three combined because, well, number one, I was extremely proud of Gibby because, Gibb shot the tires out of the car. And then just to watch a fellow officer shoot somebody with a machine gun, dude, he shot him 17 times, bro. And it was full auto. And it was over. And I just remember, and there was a lot of peripheral stuff going on, but that, I could tell you this, I think that was probably the most heavily charged situation I've ever been in. Out of 100,000 calls for service, I put that at number one. That call will always be in my mind, even more so than my own shooting, right? That call, because there was just so much happening, man. I wish there was a video of it, man, because
that would have been interesting body cam footage.
Oh, it would have been awesome footage because there were so much going on. And then there was a couple of, friendly fire things that happened. I mean, there was a lot going on, right, man.
So that's the ultimate adrenaline
100%. I always tell
incident.
People that call is the undisputed heavyweight champion of calls in my career.
it's definitely something that the academy does not teach you.
No
how
way.
to handle, how to process all that. With that being said, what lessons did the streets teach you that the academy could not?
You know what, bro? The tough part about the streets is this. They're a great teacher. They teach you a lot. But the problem is this. The trauma that you have to carry from those lessons is hard to manage, okay? Because I've seen people shoot themselves in front of me. I've seen people shot, stabbed, ran over, set on fire, dismembered, raped, molested, all of those calls. They're all, each one teaches you something, but I've also learned this. There's a lot of great people out here. Yes, we do see the worst of humanity. There's no doubt about that. But I really got to see there's also a lot of great people out here, and there's people that care, and there's people that really, just like the people that we served with, bro. I don't know if you feel this, but I feel it. I think the people I served with in law enforcement are some of the finest people that I've ever had the honor to be around. That's my honest to God's opinion. But I learned a lot about how to be a better cop, how to be a better person, how to listen. I think that's where we lack in a lot of ways. We don't listen. And I learned a lot about that. But I also learned some very tough lessons. And I got to see a lot of good dudes that I know get fired for doing a lot of dumb stuff. And so I learned a lot of what not to do as well.
So you've worked several specialty units. You've worked gangs. You've worked school resource officer positions. Walk us through some of those positions. And I really want you to focus on how different those positions were from each other, and then how they changed your perspective in its entirety as you view law enforcement now.
Yeah. So when I left patrol, because I did about 3 years in patrol, and then I went to schools. What I liked about schools was this. It was my own show. My supervisor was really hands-off. He let me kind of do my own thing. And I really became a better cop from doing that, because I learned a lot. And I also got to meet a lot of people in the school district. That made me a better cop, because it just made me I was dealing with a lot of sensitive issues. Now, when I transferred to the gang unit, Visalia PD's gang unit, very prestigious. It's a prestigious position.
It was one of the most prestigious units at the time in the entire Central Valley, to be quite honest.
Correct.
And I remember around that time is when I met you.
Yeah.
And it's when Visalia PD's, was it SIU is what they referred to them?
SEU.
SEU.
Yeah, Special Enforcement
And you guys
Unit.
rolled around in those, what we call black attacks.
Yeah, the blacked out cars.
People in this community knew when those cars were around, when they showed up, you better mind your P's and Q's, because business is about to be handled.
Big time. Well, and I tell you something, I only got to do 4 years, and I would have stayed longer, but me and the supervisor, we didn't see eye to eye. And that's what made me go to Magnet. I did that to get away from the supervisor.
Before we get into Magnet, I want to know, outside of your issues with your supervisor, what does it really take mentally and physically to work in a unit like that? Because it is a high-speed unit.
Big time.
You guys are chasing after the worst of the worst. So that has to have an effect on you.
It does. And you know what? Here's the other thing. You know, you're actually around a lot of other very hard-charging cops. So really, you have to elevate your game. You have to give 110, and we're getting called out on shootings and stabbings and anything with gangs. We're dealing with confidential informants. We did 300 high-risk search warrants, dude.
Right.
But we're doing a lot of surveillance and intelligence work. Well, that's not glamorous. It's not fun to watch a house for 10 hours a day.
No, I hear you. And you're absolutely right about the company you keep when you work a specialty unit like that. I also worked for the Tulare County Gang Task Force, and we worked a lot of details together all over the community, different communities here in Tulare County. And some of the things that I learned from watching others and interacting with others and and it was invaluable to me throughout the course of my career. But yeah, how did you handle the weight of high risk tactical operations?
You know what? It's funny, man, because I was there with Gibby, I was there with Dom, I was there with, well, Luma, Nate, Brian Winter, who was top notch, man. He ended up becoming a captain, but he was our agent. That unit, flat out, man, you had to show up every day with your A game, because we would do a warrant in the morning, then we'd go help narcs in the afternoon with a warrant. So, we do 2 warrants a day, maybe more. And then, plus, we could leave the city. We didn't have to have permission. So, dude, we'd be in Farmersville. We were doing operations all over this county.
Right.
And that made me a better cop in this. I got to learn everybody, back in those days. If I needed something from Farmersville, I called Mikey Marquez, right? If I needed something in Lindsay, I was calling you, right? If I needed something in Porterville, I was calling Mark Azevedo or those dudes, right? It really did. It branched me out professionally because I got to learn dudes from other agencies.
Right. And as well as I do, when you're investigating crimes of that nature where your unit has to get involved, it doesn't always cease at the border of the city of Visalia. Some of those investigations are going to take you far away, right? And it's good to have friends in other places. And that's really cool that you guys had that freedom to do that. Not a lot of agencies grant their officers freedom to do that. You kind of mentioned your supervisor a little bit. I don't really want to get into that with in regards to him, but I know you did serve under some really good leadership in throughout the course of your career. Tell me, what does leadership look like in the middle of chaos?
Calm. And you know who was really good at that? Brian Winter.
I knew you were going to say that.
Brian Winter had this way of talking to you. I mean, dude, we're talking the worst of the worst, man. People running around with guns, high-speed pursuits. I always felt good when Brian was there because I knew this. Brian had our backs. Brian was going to make solid decisions. But when it's just the worst of the worst and everything is just spiraling out of control, Brian had a way of talking to us, and he talked to us like I'm talking to you right now.
Right.
Brian didn't have to scream, didn't have to yell, didn't have to cuss, didn't have to lose his temper. Brian was like, what do you guys need? What can I do? And that's what a true supervisor should do. Let me remove the roadblocks. Let me make it easier on you.
Right.
And I think that's where we fail in law enforcement, because a lot of bosses, they're too emotional. Brian was great at that.
Absolutely. And I've always said, when you're looking for certain traits in a leader, my opinion is I want somebody who's going to lead by example first and foremost. Right. But the ability to communicate with your subordinates is my second, right? And Brian excelled in both.
Big time. Yeah. Big time.
You worked a little bit, let's back up a little bit. You worked a little bit as a field training officer, correct?
I did.
All right. What did you look for in a young officer?
I looked for, my big 3 was this. I want you to listen, because you know this, when you're coming out of the academy, and even if you come from an allied agency, Visalia, man, we're high speed. We're too busy. And so I need somebody that's going to listen. I need somebody that's going to jump in there and try. Even if you fail, I want you to try. Because I think a lot of times we get too many guys that would be like this. They kind of go into vapor lock. They didn't want to say anything. They didn't want to do anything. And then the big one is this. I really want you to ask so many questions. A lot of guys would get in the car and they were quiet. And I would be like, hey, dude, do you have answers or questions? No, I think I'll just get it for. And I'd be like, no, don't do that. We got too much to teach you in a 16-week training program. And so those were my big 3. But the biggest one was listen, because a lot of guys didn't. And then, hey, we used to do it like this at Lindsay. Well, dude, I don't want to hear that when you come to Visalia. We're not at Lindsay. We're going to 30 calls for service in a day. You're not going to do that in Lindsay. Plus, remember, we had our own
I
we had our own
I
codes.
don't recall any officers that you trained that came from Lindsay. I'm probably one of the only ones, and I don't remember ever saying that to you. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I'm using that as an example.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I said, "Hey, Jay, I never said that." No,
but we would get that, guys.
What about this? What about because I used to tell trainees as well, along the lines of where you're going. Don't be afraid to fail.
For sure.
This is where you need to fail. Well, I'm here watching over you because I can guide you through some things and prevent you from getting yourself hurt, getting me hurt, or God forbid, getting a citizen hurt.
Correct.
Right. So I always used to try and encourage.
I did too. Here's something, man, I had an FTO sergeant, man, that was a little different, dude. And he used to do this to me. AJ, we're going to fire this guy right now. So can you tell him before you guys get here? And I used to be like, hey, dude, you're the one getting the big bucks to do this. Don't make me do it. But dude, literally, Geno, I would have to pull into a parking lot and tell the guy like, hey man, we're going to go to the PD right now. And I think they're going to job you. So they're going to take your gun and your badge. But hey, go to a smaller agency, get your skills and try to come back. And some guys did. But I will tell you something, man, that time, and I hate to use this, but this is the honest to God's truth. I was only on a year and they were making me an FTO. That is not good because guess what? After a year, did I know a little bit?
You're still learning how to figure things out for yourself.
Yeah, I knew a little bit. And now I'm trying to train new dudes. But they did that because we just didn't have enough FTOs. And there was a high turnover, man. There was a lot of guys that came to us. They didn't last our program or they didn't last their probation. And it was tough, man.
I had 13 FTOs.
See, and that should never happen.
At the Visalia Police Department. And it came down to resources. And some of them had not gone to FTO school. Some of them I had more time on the streets than they had, which doesn't mean anything. Yeah. I mean, Visalia is a lot different than where I came from. I
don't think anybody should have more than 4. I think you should be with a guy for 4 weeks, go to another guy for 4 weeks, another guy for 4 weeks, and then maybe go back to your original guy for 4 weeks for a total of 16.
Right.
If you're having 13, that's telling me the program it's messed up. And I could tell you this, there were a lot of times when that was happening, or they were having, like you said, riding with people that had never been to FTO school. Like for me, dude, I was an FTO for 2 years, bro, and I never went to FTO school. It's not good to do that.
Gotcha. What separates a good officer from a great officer?
All right. A good officer, right, will kind of do what's expected of them. They show up on time. They look good. They'll go to their calls for service. A great officer takes it upon themselves to become they work on their craft and they become top of their game, right? They look the part, they talk the part, they act the part, but then they're willing to go that extra mile, whether it's going to schools, getting yourself educated, going that extra step. What separated me from a lot of times with a lot of guys I worked with, I would go that extra step, right? If they needed me to stay late, I did it. If they needed me to come early, I did it. And I was a team player too. And that's where I think we lack a lot too. A lot of guys want to go be a lone wolf. Can't be a lone wolf, bro. You got to be willing to help your partner. Sometimes you're going to get stuck doing the shit job. Do you know how many times I had to sit there and tow the car, when everybody else is running and chasing somebody? Or the times where we were in something really cool and then I had to be the guy that transports the guy to the jail where they're off getting in pursuits and doing the cool shit. But I didn't bitch because I knew this. My time would come to do the cool stuff. But right now, I'm paying my dues by doing the menial stuff.
Let me ask you your opinion on this. Would you rather an officer be good at a multitude of things within the law enforcement realm? For example, traffic, DUIs, gangs, SRO, or would you rather a officer be great at just one of those things?
I think multiple disciplines, and this is why. I think it just makes you better at every other little thing. Like if you're great at traffic, right? You're going to look at things from a different lens, and it's going to give you that. I think it's going to give you that perspective. If you're good at gangs, then guess what? It's a whole lot different than patrol, man. We're doing surveillance. We're dealing with CIs. We're doing other things. We're doing search warrants. It's going to make you better. SRO, you know what it made me? It made me a lot more visible in the community, and I got to meet a lot of community members that I would have never met outside of that. So I think multiple disciplines in the final analysis of all of it, I think when it all comes together, I just think it makes you a better cop because you can step into any environment. I think if you're only, let's say, just a gang dude, well, guess what? Sometimes the gang guys, and here's the bad part about gang guys, very aggressive, right? And they want to go, and they're fire eaters, and I love that about them. But they're not good when they're stepping in and maybe go and talking to people at the school, right? Because they don't have that polish, right? Then you take them, and then you want to have them go do something in traffic. Man, they're sitting there trying to ask some motor dude, hey, man, how do you fill this out, or how do you do this? So I always wanted to be, I was very well versed because not only did I did patrol, schools, gangs, commercial policing, right? I was the downtown guy. Then I was the Mooney guy. Those things, man, it just made me that much more better, bro.
Right. And I would have to assume there aren't many agencies in this area that are going to promote you unless you are a well-rounded, well-versed officer.
Big time.
Right. You taught firearms. You were a firearms instructor.
I did.
Right? How did that shape your own discipline?
For me, yeah, I knew this. If I was going to go teach cops, I wanted to be the top of my game at firearms. So this was something, dude, on my days off, I went out there and practiced, bro. And because you know this, shooting is a perishable skill. If you don't keep up on it, you are not going to be as proficient as the day that we retired. It's just not. You have to stay up on it. So I was buying books. I was watching videos. I went to range master school. I'd already put in for my second school, which was, I wanted to go to, Front Sight and those guys, right? I think this, you have to keep learning if you're going to be teaching cops, because I think this, and we can both attest to this, a lot of the schools we went to in law enforcement were a waste of time. I never wanted it to be a waste of time. I wanted to be a full resource to my fellow officers, and I wanted to be at the top of my game when it came to shooting.
Perfect. Let's get back to you working in the schools for a little bit, because you kind of touched on this a second ago. It's a different kind of policing.
Big time.
And you kind of hit on what it taught you. What did that experience mean to you, not only during that assignment, but after, and then even now?
Yeah, you know what? I was the type of cop, when I was walking around that campus, I wanted people to look at me and go, that's what a police officer should look like, and that's what a police officer should act like. I put my heart and soul. I always say this, I did the worst thing you could ever do. I did a good job. I got police officer of the year, and then that they made me go to the gang unit, right? But I also met people that became like family to me, right?
Are you talking administrators, teachers?
Yes. Lou
staff?
Irwin. Yeah. Lou Irwin, Alexa Barba, right? Drew Sorensen, right? I mean, titans of the education.
All great people.
Yeah, great people. Lou, my real dad is dead. Lou is the closest thing to a real dad to me. And I did that by working with him. I don't like Lou. I love Lou. I would do anything in the world for Lou, but Lou made me a better man. He made me a better father, made me a better person. When you're around people of that caliber, it elevates your game, dude. And I can tell you this, if we went to Redwood right now and you went and talked to all those secretaries, they'll tell you guys with a hands down, there's nobody like Jay when it came to being a YSO. I was at the top of my game.
You've talked previously about you running and gunning over there. You taking a lot of youngsters to jail. Kids who needed to be put in jail, needed to be made an example of.
Big time.
And for the safety of not only the staff, but the other students there. How do you reach those kids who don't necessarily respect you, the uniform, or don't trust authority at all?
This is how I did it. I tried to treat them with dignity and respect, but if I told them I was going to do something, I followed through, right? I also had to go to a lot of homes, and I had to remove kids from homes that were being either physically or sexually abused. And I took protecting kids, I took it deadly serious.
Was there any one of those incidents or cases that you investigated that reminded you of why your presence mattered and why it was so important for the Unified School District to partner with the Visalia Police Department to actually have that school resource program?
Big time. I would tell you the day that I tried to break up that fight and the girls were beaten, I mean, dude, they were ripping each other's hairs out. There's 300 kids standing around filming this. And now I'm in a fight with multiple kids. The Northenials gathered around Lou, pushed him up against a wall. All of that, I was able to get on the radio, get resources there, and I ended up putting sister, brother, mom in jail. But think about this. If they had to wait around for a patrol, they could have been waiting 20 minutes, right? I was there, and I clipped that in the bud quick. But I've also had to go, I mean, there's kids that have showed up at Redwood High School beat to a soup because from their parents. And I had to go get CPS. I've had to have ambulances come get kids. I've had to go to the house, pick up mom and dad. Those are things I always told people, I will always protect kids. And you know what it breaks down to? Because I didn't have anybody to protect me.
As a police officer, there are some things that we confront that we just cannot help but get emotional about.
Big time.
And it's usually when we deal with kids.
Big time.
So give me a situation or tell us a story about how you've had to de-escalate not only a situation, but your own personal emotions when something like that can spiral out of control.
Big time, man. I'll never forget this cute little 6-7-year-old girl shows up to a school and she has this perfect belt buckle bruise in the center of her back from her belt buckle. And I'm trying to figure it out, you know, and I had the nurse with me because I'm photographing her back and, you know, we're in the middle of it, and the dad shows up and the dad starts, you know, using profanity, acting, you know, gangster dad, acting out of control. And I said, hey, man, come in here, man. And I took him in this office and Geno, it took everything in me. It not to just grab him.
Was it just the two of you in there by yourselves?
Yes.
And you see, that's one of those situations where you really have to separate personal feelings, emotion, and remain professional.
I did.
Those are situations where it can very easily get out of control. And if you don't stop yourself, Jay, who's there to stop you?
Nobody.
I doubt there was any cameras in the room. No. You guys probably weren't wearing body cameras at the time. And that is not only professionalism, but it's also integrity.
Yeah,
because doing the right thing when nobody is looking is extremely important in this profession, and I commend you for that. I commend you for holding.
I remember
back.
thinking this: I didn't want to do anything that would compromise that investigation.
Right.
I was like, this little girl needs me, and she needs the best that I got to give. And so I ended up calling CPS, placed her with CPS, and then I booked him in the county jail. But Geno, there was a part of me, I was like, I could feel, it wasn't even sadness, it was anger in me. And I was like, and I remember going, Jay, this guy is not worth you getting in trouble over this or messing up this investigation. Do the right thing. And I did. But it was hard, Geno. It was very hard.
I had the privilege of working as a school resource officer as well. And I know how important that role is and how it has shaped me, how it's changed my perspective on law enforcement. And I commend you for doing that as long as you did, because I know it means something. It still means something to this day that those roles exist. What do you think law enforcement, how do you think law enforcement should play a role in shaping our next generation of youth?
I think we need to show people that we care. And I think, remember, law enforcement went through so many facets. Back in the 50s, you had officers walking around, right? And they got to know everybody. Once we got to cars, man, we're driving through neighborhoods. We don't get to know people. That's what I think it makes the YSO position so great, because we get to really know people. But I think we need to show people, A, we are people. We also need to show people this stuff does affect us, right? We are not robots. But I think if most people realize that we truly care and we got into this for the right reasons, which was to be in the service of people, I think that can bridge a lot of gaps. There's always going to be that distrust of law enforcement. We are given a lot of power. A, we can take people's freedom, and B, if it's bad enough, we can use deadly force. Those two things are always going to have this. There's always going to be this line in the sand between law enforcement and the community. However, I just think we have to be as professional. I think we need to be as transparent as possible.
Well, how do you think the media and how do you think social media plays a part in that?
Very negatively, because we don't get to see the wins. We hardly see the wins. We see the failures, right? We see the bad calls that officers made on certain stuff. But you know this, media is always there. They always love the scandal. And I think social media, what I've seen with social media that I don't like is people that have never worn a badge will watch a 2-minute clip of something with a police officer, and now they have self-elected themselves as an expert in law enforcement. It's a whole lot different sitting behind a computer than it is out here when you're dealing with somebody that's a dangerous suspect with a gun, with a knife, or trying to run you over with a vehicle, because you can't get killed behind a computer. I would love to see a lot of these people be put in those positions and see how they handle it. I think most people couldn't even process. A good officer too, just to kind of piggyback that, we have to be able to process so much information at one time. It's coming in terabytes, bro. You're seeing things that the average person wouldn't even think to see, and you're processing it at lightning fast speeds, because we don't have the time to slow it down. We don't have the time to say time out. It's real, it's raw, and a lot of times, you know this, brother, it's ugly, I mean, we are dealing with people, a lot of times we're dealing that are drunk, that are high, and that are crazy, and then you have all three things in the same person. Man, pretty please with sugar on top does not work with those people.
And you're absolutely right. And I will say this, what you just hit on, if as an officer you're incapable of doing all of those things, your career is going to end very, very quickly.
Big time. I mean, and you know what? Me and you have both seen officers go into vapor lock, and then either A, made the wrong decision, or B, worse than that, didn't act and either got themselves hurt, somebody else hurt. And there's times I wasn't a supervisor, but there's times, man, I've grabbed guys right by their shoulder patch, brought them off to the side and said, hey, brother, I need better from you. I need you to help me. I need you to have my back. And if you see me crawling around on the ground with somebody, you better kick your little skinny ass over there and jump right in the middle of it. And I think that's where, I think in this day and age too, especially with cams, everybody's scared to do something, right? And I would rather this, let's act, let's do something, right?
Let's live to tell the story.
I agree. And I think cams, they're great for transparency. I love it. But I think there's a lot of people that are dead because the camera was going and they failed to act.
Let's change topics real quick. You are the owner of Jason McWilliams?
It's just called
McWilliams Investigations, correct?
Yeah.
What drew you to that?
You know what? Initially, I thought, hey, man, I got all these investigative skills. Let me go be a PI, right? Or private investigator, right? and I know you thought the same shit, right? But I realize now how naive I was jumping into investigations because a couple things. Here's the problem with being a PI. I came from a team environment. Now I'm on my own. Now I was in dude. I was in Fresno, bad neighborhoods, walking around. Think about me in Southwest Fresno, bro. You know what I mean? And there were a couple things that happened where I remember going, you know what? Money is not worth being dead. And I actually, I still have my PI license. I just don't do much with it. And I'll tell you a story here in a second that really solidified it for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had the privilege of working a ton of different specialty units, from gangs to canines to SWAT to things that were very proactive. Investigations and intelligence gathering was not my forte. I got bored. I'm quite certain I have adult ADHD, and I just cannot.
No.
I cannot focus on the aftermath. And it was a detriment to me, to be quite honest, throughout my career, because once the adrenaline dump started to take hold, I was worthless, man. I was great at going out and chasing the bad guys and putting people in jail, but once the report writing shit started and the investigative part of certain cases started, I was worthless, dude, and I was not good at it. And I'm not ashamed to say it. Everybody who I worked with will probably tell you the same thing, but it just wasn't my forte, and it is what it is. But while gathering intelligence or working in investigation, how do you read between the lines when a story isn't added up?
Yeah, so I got sucked into the criminal defense, okay? And dude, I'm going out to the jails to interview people, dude. And I used to tell these guys,
Jay, I commend you. Let me just say this: I commend you for doing this, because throughout our careers, we just get lied to from start to stop, right? Like it's just what we deal with every day, all day long. So for you to want to get to the bottom of some things, and then on top of it, go work criminal cases, on behalf of a criminal defense attorney, hey man, props to you for doing that.
Thank you, brother. But I realized very quick it was not my jam, because here's what I did. I looked at it like a cop. So when I would go out and interview a dude, I would go line by line in the report with these dudes, right? Well, I used to tell them, I'm your PI. I'm working with your attorney. Don't lie to me. Dude, they all lie. They would not be honest. And I just got very frustrated very quickly. Witnesses, they're all lying. Everybody's lying. And I remember just going, I remember looking at myself one day coming home from Bob Wiley, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I literally said these words: Jay, what are you doing? What are you doing? You don't like this shit. I didn't like the defense attorneys I worked with. I didn't like the clients. I didn't like the work. I didn't like any of it. And guess what? I mean, if I wanted to, I could go work with Julian, or, I could go to work for Pinto. But I don't like criminals.
So are there any cases that stand out to you now that really tested your internal instincts? I mean, you were a cop for 20 plus years, and then you jump into this private sector, and you're working for criminal defense attorneys, you're working civil cases. And so I'm assuming all of those instincts kick in, right? I mean, like I said, we get lied to all day, every day. And so I don't know how you feel, but I feel like I can size you up pretty quick. And I can tell whether or not you're full of shit within 30 seconds of meeting you. So is there any cases that stand out to you where your instincts just kicked in and said, no, this person's full of shit, or,
I will tell you this, man. And it's just going to go right into my story, right? So I'm a master storyteller, right? So I'm going to give you this story, and just give me a few minutes. It's gut-wrenching. Okay. So I get assigned a case, and it's the death of a 2-year-old child that was beat to death with a piece of wood. Okay. And so I'm assigned this case. I go out to the jail to interview the mother. And Geno, couple of things. Number one, this crime occurred 350 feet from the apartment that I lived in when I was in the 7th and 8th grade. The owner of that house owned an ice cream truck, and he used to pay me and my best friend Brett money to mow his yard, but he would pay us some money and ice cream. So that house, to this day, when I drive by there, it will always be in my mind a place of laughter and childhood memories. Now it's forever tainted. And let me tell you what happened. So my client moves in with this suspect, and over the course of, I would say, a year and a half, things happened behind those walls that were hidden from the public until they no longer could be. So they show up at the Tulare District Hospital, and this little boy is in full cardiac arrest, and he has severe brain swelling. And the autopsy photos that I had to go through were assault on my soul, bro. And as I'm looking at these autopsy photos, I had sadness, but more than that, I had anger. I was pissed off. I wanted somebody to pay for it. And my client would take no responsibility. And so anyways, a video surfaced that they used to call this little kid Knockout King, where the male suspect would literally knock him out. They would videotape it. But they would also tie up a 3-year-old cousin, and she had severe ligature marks on her hands or on her wrists and ankles. Well, anyways, the little boy, he passes away, okay? And I'm trying to do this case, Geno, and everything in me is, I don't want to use my skills, my training, my harder experience to help people like this. I wanted the jail doors to close and never open again for these people, okay? But anyways, my client ended up getting 27 years. Her sister ended up getting, my client got 30, her sister got 27, and then the male suspect ended up getting life without the possibility of parole. But it was the last case I worked because I knew this, Geno. I'm not made to help people like this. I wanted these people to never get out of jail. Me trying to help them, me going through those autopsy photos, bro, it's something I will never forget. But you know this, there's sometimes we see shit and you can never unsee it. And that was a hard part for me, bro. Some PIs and former cops, they can separate that. That's not in me, bro. I got too much cop in me. And so I remember going like this. This is officially my last case. And when that case was over, I stepped away from it. And I stepped away for my own mental well-being, bro. That case. But here's a silver lining. A former police officer adopted the daughter. And this is where the story turns to hope. And I worked with her dad for 20 years. She was Tulare PD, dad was Visalia. But I always say this, I hope that little girl gets wrapped in the love that she deserves because she endured what no child should ever have to endure. And I think that officer and her wife, I think they're an example to us all. I think of them often, and I wish them all the best. I really do, man, because that case is something I think about more than I let on, and I wished I never even had that stuff in my mind.
Do you still have contact with the family, the officer who adopted the young?
I don't. I run into her sometimes, and I always ask how the little girl's doing.
You know what a lot of people don't understand is that police officers, they see cases like that hundreds of times throughout their careers.
Big time.
And the average person maybe deals with traumatic events 2 to 3 to 4 times in their entire lifetimes. And let me ask you this. Throughout your entire 25-year career, I'm assuming you responded to hundreds and thousands of calls for service.
Yeah, I call it 100,000, but I think
and
it's probably more.
those types of cases, probably happened multiple times a work week for you, as they did me.
Yeah.
Why do you think that case, after your retirement in a completely different role, had so much effect on you and is stuck up here?
I think number one, it was my childhood neighborhood, right? So that's already gives me this attachment.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
The girl who lived there, I graduated high school. We have the same birthdays, and I just remember, and I think it was too because now my job was to help the suspects, and bro, I could not do it. It's like every time I interviewed this lady multiple times, and obviously I can't go into what she said, but because it's attorney-client privilege, but just no accountability. And I just remember every time I interviewed her, I left so pissed off because ultimately a child is dead and another one was tortured with no accountability. I mean, they all went to prison, right. But
is that what justice looks like to you?
I think with this case particular, I think that the fact that everyone went to jail for over 25 years, I think that is justice. Yeah. I think the guy getting life without the possibility of parole for sure is justice.
You obviously get emotional when you're discussing these types of cases. And hey, man, you're a human being too. We're not robots. I understand that completely and can sympathize with that. What are some of the things that you do, Jay, that help combat that angst or that PTSD? Because that is PTSD.
Oh, it is. I agree. You know what, bro? I'm living my best life right now. And probably the number one thing for me is my relationship with my wife.
Got it.
I mean, I can talk to her about this stuff. And, I spent a lot of years being single, bro, living that single life and partying and all that. And I didn't have somebody to vent to. And, my wife has really stepped into that role and, she listens and she gives me, what I love about her, she always gives me a fresh perspective and a way of looking at things. And it's made me a better person, bro. But I'm at more peace now than I've ever been in my life, bro. And, and I think another thing is I voluntarily chose to step away from investigations, and I did it for my own mental well-being, bro.
Good. And I can share a similar experience, me stepping away from my entire career because of one call. And it's, like I said, I survived 20 plus years in law enforcement, seeing the worst of humanity, seeing some horrific things that I don't wish anybody
I agree
has to see, right? And we talked a little bit on my episode about how I knew my career was over months before I signed the paperwork to finally walk away. And my career was over on November 16th of 2021. And if I can, let me please tell you this story because I think it can relate to what you were saying.
Lay it on me.
My shift had just started 5 a.m. Me and one other officer on duty, and our first call for service that morning, just after 6 a.m., was a medical aid call at a local apartment. And he and I started that way. Multiple calls started to come into 911 dispatch terminal, and it upgraded to an unresponsive juvenile. So at this point, we're hustling over there, and more calls continue to come in, and now it escalates into a possible suicide. My partner and I get to the apartment complex, rush up to the 3rd floor, and start knocking on the door. Mom answers the door, hysterical, crying, lets us into the apartment. Laid out there on the living room floor is a 16-year-old. There are 3 small children sitting on the couch, crying uncontrollably. I see a big Hispanic guy sitting on another couch, tears coming down his eyes. Mom starts yelling at my partner and I to save her daughter. It's November, Jay, so it's extremely cold outside. And she's frozen, cold to the touch. She's not breathing, no pulse.
Yeah.
And there there was really nothing we can do.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
obvious she was passed, and she had been for quite some time. Mom tells me during the investigation that she had been depressed for quite some time. They had just moved her out of the Porterville School District and into the Lindsay School District. She was a high school student. She apparently had been dating an older gentleman who was an adult, and they didn't like that, so they took her phone away from her, put her in a state of disconnect and severe depression. She was seeking counseling for it, but she felt apparently that taking her life was better than living it.
Yeah.
And her 7-year-old brother was awoken by a dog barking. He comes up to investigate and sees the dog barking out toward the patio of the apartment complex, sees the sliding glass door open, and then notices his sister hanging from the third-story balcony. Wakes up mom and dad. Stepdad comes and grabs her, picks her up. She had hung herself with her dog leash. They bought her a dog, a therapy dog.
Wow.
And
That's hardcore.
it was extremely troubling. And and like I said, that wasn't my first dead body. That wasn't my first suicide. That wasn't my first juvenile death. But
Yeah.
during the course of that investigation, the school resource officer, she called trying to gather details because she was going to have some work to do. She was a high school student. The SRO was going to probably have to find support for staff, administration,
Kids.
other students.
Kids, yeah.
And the school resource officer at the time was Adriana Nave. And I've known Adriana for years.
Yeah.
And I know Adriana knows that I'm a pretty serious, squared away cat, especially when I'm a patrol supervisor. And so as I'm relaying this information to her and giving her some details, she just stops. And she said, "Hey, are you okay?" And,
We don't ever get asked that. We never get asked that.
and it's weird because for the first time in my career, Jay, I said no.
Yeah.
I said no. And I think I knew at that point I couldn't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And after that investigation was closed for the day, you know what I had to do? I had to work the rest of my patrol shift.
Oh, yeah.
And we worked 12-hour shifts, man. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah. So
I didn't get to go home, and I didn't get to decompress. I didn't get to have a beer, and I didn't get to mourn even, or try to figure out why I was feeling that way.
think about this. You're doing that, and now you at so early in your shift, and now you got to go do another 10 hours. Oh, dude.
It
brutal,
was
dude. Brutal.
and that's I'm not telling that story for sympathy or anything
I know
like that.
you're not.
I'm just simply trying to shed light on the fact that those types of things are common practice for us in what we do, and
Big
people
time.
don't understand that. And for some reason, all of the other things that I had seen throughout the course of my career, sure, I'll remember some of it, but that's the one that ended my career, and I know it. And it's difficult to talk about still to this day.
But I'm going to tell you something, man. I commend you, man, that you're willing to talk about it, because I think when we talk about it, brother, it's healing. It's healing. Even though they're never fun to talk about, but it's good to get it out and get it out of your mind, off of your heart. Talk to somebody else that can sympathize, because, dude, I've been to some bro that are like that, and I'm going to tell you something, man. Some of them just hit you right where you live and breathe, man, and that's just it, man.
It's inevitable, and it does happen, man. And hey, I'm gonna read something real quick just to as in regards to your story and my story. Yeah. All right, nothing in these stories are intended to disclose, reference, or reflect any confidential communications, legal strategies, or information protected by attorney-client privilege. No client information was disclosed. This information is all public record.
Big time.
All right, Jay. let's move forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And let's talk about your education.
Yeah.
What inspired you to pursue a master's in education?
Well, I should have had my head examined. I'll tell you that, man. You know what? When I was stepping away from private investigative work, I was searching for something, right? And I went to Amtrak police for a little bit, and it wasn't my jam. So I decided I love the educational environment. Man, bro, I was pretty naive about what I was stepping into, man. But I always wanted to get a master's degree. So I stepped into this program. It's an intense program because it's a year. So you're really taking about a 2-year program, plus you're getting a credential at the end of it, and you're mashing them all together in 1 year. And it is intense, dude. It's very intense. But I was proud that I did it. But by the end of it, you know what I realized? I ain't made to be no teacher, bro.
Despite that, and you know, you're probably right. We've had lots of conversations about this. There's just too much cop in you, dude, and it is, you know, it's just who you are. But I still commend you because one of the things about obtaining a degree, especially a master's degree, is you still have to do the work. You still have to be disciplined. You still have to spend late nights up writing papers and. You know, hey, man, that is not for the faint of heart. And so there is... let
me give you a quick... I'll give you a quick thing. Number one, I started off in the city that you worked in at their high school. And my mentor teacher initially, she smiled a lot. And she seemed like the person that was going to be a great mentor. But she had a reputation of being difficult. And over time, she lost her patience, and she was very intense. And so I only lasted there 6 months. Then they sent me to another school, a little smaller town. And my mentor teacher there, man, was short, round, and sharp-tongued, dude. And dude, I will tell you something. But I'm writing papers on stuff that I had no interest in. And, you know, education really has this whole we are the world vibe going, right?
Let me ask you this. Were you a good student in elementary, going on through junior high, high school?
Horrible student, dude. In high school, I was a C's, get degrees type of dude. And I think I graduated with like a little bit over a 2.0. But when I got my bachelor's, I was a 4.0. Getting my master's, I was a 3.9. You're paying for it, right, bro. So I was all in. I'm so motivated and dedicated, but dude, that year of getting my master's degree, and I'm going to say this, Geno, was one of the worst years of my life.
Tell me why.
I had to eat so much crow dealing with these two.
Oh, that's not you.
Yeah.
That's not you. I know your ego, Jay.
Yeah. So I'd eat crow with these two ladies. Plus, I had to take a lot of shit from kids, which I'm not made to do. And, but
I can't imagine you spending 8 years as a school resource officer in a position of authority in a uniform with the ability to effect arrests, right? Or to hold people accountable.
Yeah.
Education teachers, they don't have that.
They have
so
none.
I cannot grasp how you were able to even last that long.
Well, you know what, bro? It took everything in me because, hey, trust me, I only wanted to quit about 100 or 200 times, right? But I was like this: I'm gonna graduate this program. But dude, I kid you not, dude. I limped across the finish line, man, because at the end, dude, I didn't like the kids, I didn't like the administrators, I didn't like the teachers, I didn't like nobody, and I realized. This is not my calling. I actually got offered a full-time job at a district, and I turned it down because I was like, So
I think it's safe to say that this changed your experience thus far in education, changed the way that you saw people and their behavior.
Big time. I knew this. I'm not made to take shit from kids, teachers, administrators. I'm just not. And, you know, I realize that with me now. And I'm proud that I've got the degree. I'm proud that I got my bachelor's because I always wanted to show my daughter what education did for me because it's done a lot for me.
Right.
It's opened a lot of doors. I'm proud, but bro, that year of my life, it was honestly, man, and I missed out on a lot that year, man. I'm sitting in classes. I'm learning stuff that has no no applications to the real world. I'm dealing with all these people that want to sing "We Are the World," man, and that it's just not real, Geno. It's not real, dude. And
So you regardless of how you feel now, you did accomplish something. Having a master's degree is very, very important. I still think.
Yeah, it is.
We've talked a lot about this, about education, the difference between education and experience, especially life experience or experience in a field like law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a piece of paper, whether it be a master's degree or a bachelor's degree or even a doctorate, right, does not mean you are educated,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And I think that education comes with experience more than it does with school. But that's just my opinion. And there's different.
No, you're
there are
totally
different
right.
points of view out there, and I'm not trying to argue or disparage anybody who's in education. My father was in education. My best friend's the superintendent in Woodlake. I mean, I love educators, right? But my point is this: you can be smart and intelligent without a degree.
Yeah, I I look back on it now and I realize this. I think that both of my mentors, I think that they didn't like men, and I think that they didn't like me being a former cop. And this was their one chance to try to put a guy like me in my place. And they knew that I couldn't say anything back.
I can see that.
And
I can see that.
And I can tell you this. I daily just had to tell myself, shut up, Jay, get the degree. But I'm glad I did it because I'll never have to worry.
So you obviously learned how to write.
Oh, big time.
And you have a gift, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But give me your biggest life lesson from that whole experience of obtaining your master's, of going through that program, dealing with these young ladies who you feel didn't like you for whatever reason. What's the biggest life lesson you got from that?
The biggest life lesson for me is I know this, and I already knew this, but this just confirmed it. I'm one of those people, if I put my mind to something, Geno, it's going to happen.
Good for you.
Because I do not give up. I can take the hits. I can take the knocks. I proved this. I proved it to myself. I already knew it, but this confirmed it. I'm as smart as any of those people. And you know what? And I will tell you this. I think that's another thing because I carried myself in a way that I wasn't so subservient to these people. And I think that might have been a detriment to me. I tried to talk to them as like equals.
Right.
And I think that maybe they didn't like that because I wasn't, begging and I wasn't so, oh yeah. I mean,
well, you definitely have a way about you. You have a demeanor, you have a tact, and hey, that comes with 25 years of law enforcement experience. That's never gonna, you're not gonna outgrow that. No. Speaking of outgrow, let me ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 55.
55 years old. And you are still learning.
Correct.
Right? What does learning mean to you?
You know what? It's never being comfortable staying in one spot. It's always striving for something. And I think, well, I know this podcast, this is my purpose now.
Well, I've known you for a long time, Jay, and you're a busybody. You always have to have some type of stimulation, and it's mental stimulation. Hey, man, that's a great quality to have. You're always looking for the next thing.
100%.
And to me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that is growth, right? We don't have to stop growing because we reached what others would consider a peak or because we turn a certain age. Growth can happen until the day we are no longer here, right?
I totally
So what
agree.
inspires you to keep growing?
You know what, man? I think you're right. I always got to be searching for something. I'm always searching for that next thing.
Right.
I think that that's something, but I also think it's also that little boy in me that's still trying to show my old man something. I really did a deep dive on that one day. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something in me that's why I have achieved so much. And I've gone farther, worked harder, and achieved more than I'll tell you this, than any person in the McWilliams lineage.
Right.
And there's a quote that always in the back of my mind. I want to be the greatest person in my lineage. right? And there's something in me, Geno, that
And I can't imagine it. I don't want to interrupt you here because I think we're going to get into this a little bit later, but you're also responsible for setting an example.
Damn right. I'm trying to show my daughter.
Correct.
And I think that there's two types of people. There's people that do, and then there's people that make up bullshit excuses of why they don't. Right. I'm a doer.
Speaking of growth, the Street to Strategy podcast.
Correct.
It's your baby.
It is my baby.
And it's growing.
It is.
And like I said earlier, it's a testament to all of the hard work that you've put into this, because I know what happens behind the scenes. I know how much work your team puts into this. I know how much support you have for me and others out there. Yeah. What inspired this?
You know what, man? This started on a whim, bro, because my neighbor is the one that kind of kicked this off, which is Phil Myers, that owns the Visalia Vein and Wound, the commercial that I do. So he's the one that came to me. And then Mike Stevens, who runs this studio, he is Phil's ex-son-in-law. And so they linked me up, and this started. That first episode, who could have ever imagined from that first episode to episode 33?
Right. I think what'd you say? We're a little over 8 months now.
Yeah.
And man, you've had some great conversations. You've had some great guests. Everybody that's been on here, it's an honor to share space with them. Just personally speaking, man, I've gotten a lot of positive insight and have been enlightened by a lot of, not only you, but a lot of your guests, man. So you are onto something, my brother. You are onto something. What?
You know what I liked? I like your brother-in-law, dude. I mean, dude, it's like, dude, he shows me love, his wife.
Right.
Well,
Juan and Evelyn, they're very big supporters of the podcast. They, you've been around my family plenty.
Yeah.
You know how they feel about you. And it means a lot to me too, because they know what connection you and I have, and so, yeah, man, Juan and Evelyn are amazing people, dude. You've had a lot of conversations with a lot of great people. What do you think, or what do you feel the world needs to hear right now?
I think that they need to hear that cops are people, and this job did a number on me, did a number on you, did a number on a lot of the guys. But if you do the work and you have integrity and you have a good heart, you can come out the other end of this and you can be a good person. You don't have to be pissed off at the world. Me and you both know a lot of cops that are pissed off at the world, that are current cops, former cops. But I really wanted this whole thing, the biggest part for me is doing a deep dive to show the trauma that me and you both survived. This would crumble most people in society. It's a real testament to you, and it's a real testament to me, Daniel.
And the others that are out there that have
think about
similar
Daniel.
Experiences to us.
Hey, dude, I mean, Alex. I mean, dude, I mean, if you think about, like when people ask me stories, if somebody hits me up and go, hey, what episode should I start with? I always tell people, start at number 1. But they always go, what one episode should I really lock in? I always tell them, episode 6. That's Daniel Roberts, dude. That episode is the undisputed heavyweight champion of my episodes, right?
It is. And I will tell you this personally. I love Daniel. He knows that. I knew Daniel early on in his career. I was fortunate enough not to be there during some of the things that he discussed on his episode, but watching him now, that story of retribution and forgiveness is so impactful and has played a big role in the success of this podcast.
Big time.
Man,
Dude, he's got married. He married her.
Right. Good for him. Good for him.
And dude, he looks happy. Me and him and Adam, we met up and had breakfast. And dude, he's just happy, dude. He's thriving. And man, I mean, it's
when
good
you say Adam, are you talking about Adam Collins?
Yeah, Adam. Yeah. And Adam's I've been trying to get him on. He just lives in Idaho.
Right.
If he lived local, he'd probably been one of my first ones. But
Right. Adam is a good guy. I don't know if you know this or not. I got hired on at Visalia PD alongside Adam. His call sign was Adam 169. I was Adam 170.
yeah,
And so I've known Adam since he was a kid.
dude, he's a warrior.
And Adam
dude.
is an absolute stud. You know, it's funny that you bring up Adam. I can count on one hand how many times I lost my shit on duty. And it was when him and Brian got shot. And I was in Lindsay, and that call went out. And I don't know what got into me. I was fortunate enough to be done with my shift, and I was driving home. And I don't think I've ever told anybody this story.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do. I just panicked. And it's not like I worked a lot alongside those guys, but I knew them, and we were trauma bonded. And I will always feel close to them. And I remember getting in my unit, just hauling ass down to KDDH, thinking I just want to go make sure they're okay, because I didn't have a lot of details. I didn't work for Visalia PD. And I remember pulling into the parking lot, and the parking lot is swarmed with VPD units. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing here? Like, you don't belong here. This isn't your agency. Get out of the way. Let them handle business. There's probably chaos going on. You don't need to, add to that. And obviously, and so I didn't know where to go. I lived at home by myself at the time, and I drove to my parents. I drove to my parents' house, and I remember just walking in the door and grabbing my mom, and I just lost it. Yeah. And I started hyperventilating. I was freaking out. It's the first time I ever felt like that in my entire career. And because I didn't know if those guys were going to be okay. I had just heard that they had gotten shot. And yeah, man, I never really discussed that with anybody, but I'm sorry to deviate from what you were talking about, but that, you brought up Adam, and Adam, I love Adam, and I hope he knows that. And that will always stick with me.
I tell you something, man, the thing about that day, I mean, I'm listening to this radio traffic, bro. He sounded like he was ordering a pizza, dude.
That's what I heard.
It was just like this. Hey, I've been shot. Somebody want to come pick me up?
I mean, that's because Adam is an absolute stud. That's why. He's not only a physical specimen, but he was a solid cop, dude.
You think most people took 4 or 5 to the shoulder? They'd be like, help. Dude, he was not like that. And you know what? It's so interesting is he is actually, I consider him one of my best friends. But hey, right about that time that happened, I didn't like him, dude. Because he was working dope and gangs, and he was pretty standoffish. But man, we became very tight, and I care very much about the man.
Yeah, yeah. Moving on, I have said this about you for a very long time now. You have a gift. You have the gift of gab. You captivate people with your ability to tell stories, Big right? Time. And how has that storytelling become a part of your mission now with this podcast?
Believe it or not, bro, it started years ago. I've always been good at telling stories because, I've just always been articulate. So I can set the scene. I can use a lot of descriptive language, and I can really explain it to you, right? But I crafted that in patrol. I would always tell stories, and we would always walk out to hit the streets in a good mood. So what I didn't know is I was cultivating that skill. Right. By the time I got to this podcast, man, most of these stories I've told 100 times.
Oh yeah, I've heard them all.
But what I really want to do is a lot of these stories they may start with sadness, but they end in greatness. And I always want to let people know that a lot of these stories, believe it or not, bro, a lot of this stuff saved me, brother.
Talking about it is a healing therapeutic method that you use, and and you're doing God's work, and I've said that as well, is for quite some time now. What message do you hope listeners walk away with?
I think this: if whatever you set your mind to, you can do it. If I can be an example to anybody, is this, man, I am here by sheer tenacity. I will not be denied. That's how you have to think. Number 2, if you're going into law enforcement or you've been in law enforcement, then guess what? You're going to experience trauma. But if you're willing to talk about it, you're willing to address it, I think you can go on and be a productive citizen. Because me and you both know There are dudes that will not recover from this stuff. I do not want that to be me. I do not want that to be you. I don't want it to be anybody, Geno. But if I loved you and I worked with you and I respect you, I don't want you to crumble from the PTSD or the trauma. I want you to know there's people that made it. You can make it too, but be willing to address it and be willing to talk about it.
Do you think that your ability to tell stories the way that you do is not only therapeutic for you, but for the listeners?
Big
and is
time.
this a way that you use to combat that PTSD and the stress and the anxiety that you dealt with over the course of your entire career?
Yes. I can tell you this. A lot of guys, my whole career, a lot of guys, when they got their tit in a ringer, who do you think they were calling?
Right.
They were calling me. And I would give a lot of advice. And a lot of times, dude, I would hear this. Tell me a story, Jay. And guess what? I would tell them a story. And by the end of it, we're laughing because a lot of it, dude, is you have to address it. I think dudes who bottle it in, and we've both seen those dudes, what does it end up doing? Too much drinking, pissed off at the world. And, our national average is 3 to 5 years and people are dead. I don't want that to be me. I don't want that to be you, brother. So if I can give a message to anybody, man, be willing to talk about it. Be willing to get it out of your mind, get it off of your heart. Will you ever forget it? No. But there's ways of combating the PTSD, and it's got to be with having these sometimes uncomfortable conversations, because sometimes some of this shit to talk about is not easy, but I think it's important to address it.
You talked a little bit earlier about having to write and write and write when you were seeking your master's in education.
Correct.
But you wrote a book.
Correct.
Right?
I did.
What did that teach you about yourself?
You know what? Well, number one, it taught me that I could do it. Because
listen, I'm going to interrupt you, and I apologize, okay? Because while you were going through the process of writing your second book, you and I were talking on the phone, and you gave me a small excerpt of a chapter.
Yeah.
And it's your second book. And I'm not going to disclose what you said, but I just remember hearing it and thinking to myself, one, I had never heard that from you before. And we've had hundreds of conversations over the years. But just listening to that, it was so interesting and intriguing and enlightening. And listen, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass here, man. You're onto something. But those books, what is the end game here?
The end game for me is this. I think my story can be a blueprint for others. And I really wanted to tell that story, especially that first book. I put it out quickly, but I wanted to prove to myself, A, that I could do it. And then my second book, and I will tell you this, my first book is good. My second book is going to blow people away. I really did a deep dive on a lot of my childhood trauma and the things that happened to me, and how all this stuff pushed me right where I was supposed to be. Whether I know it or not, bro, I think there's always been these forces that have been pushing me right where I need to be, bro. Right now, I surround myself with people that I love. You happen to be one of them. That is important to me, bro. I try to be around people, and I want to lift you up, bro. If you notice this, man, when me and you are around each other, I'm always trying to lift you up. I don't do jokes. I don't try to tear people down. I don't try to make fun of people. I want to lift you up, bro. A lot of people stuck a finger in my face when I was younger and told me I wasn't good enough, and I was like, damn, I ain't doing that. So now what I do is I try to lift you up. These books, man, this second book, I can't wait till it comes out, man, because it's so good. And I'm not just saying it because it's me, but it's I sent it to my buddy.
I've heard it, and I 100% agree. I can't wait to read the whole thing. You just talked a little bit about your younger self now. If you could say anything to your younger self now, looking back, what would you say?
I would say, stay the course, Jay. It's going to be okay. Because, Geno, I had some years where I didn't know if it was going to be okay. You know, I was living in these bad neighborhoods. My mom's on welfare. My grandma's living with us. I'm having to sleep on a couch. I had to sleep on a couch 2 years, man, because I had to give my room to my grandma. My grandma would get up at 5 in the morning and make coffee and bang pots and pans. And so, dude, and I mean, that's not having anything, Geno. And there was days I was like, I remember going, is this as good as it gets? You know, and that was a big factor, me taking off to the military as well. But
now that'll wake your ass up real quick.
Yeah. But I remember going, if I could grab the young Jay, that's what I would say. You're going to be successful. You're going to make it. You're going to help people. Just stay the course, because, Geno, there was a lot of years, man. I mean, I've said this before, dude. Drug dealers started looking pretty good back then, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So the law enforcement career is over. Correct. I don't see you venturing back into it. As a matter of fact, I won't let you.
Yeah.
Okay, so when the podcast is over, you've obtained your master's. I know that we talked about growth, but when the podcast is over, when the lights go off and the microphone shuts off, how do you want to be remembered? And tell me what legacy means to you.
Yeah, well, I want to be remembered as this. I want to be remembered as a good man. I want to be remembered as not just a good cop, but an excellent cop. I want to be remembered as a hard charger that was at the top of my game. I want to be remembered as being highly educated. And then I also the biggest thing about my legacy is this. I want to be remembered as somebody that truly helped others. That is something that is imprinted on me, dude.
Do you think that brings you peace? Being in service of others?
It does.
Fighting for people who are unable to fight for themselves, being a voice to those who don't have a voice. You talked about that a little bit in your last episode with Patty. And that gets me a little emotional to think about, because I felt the same way throughout my career. Yeah. Being a voice for people who don't have a voice, or protecting people who can't protect themselves, that is the ultimate sacrifice, and that is the ultimate service. Because a lot of times we put aside what we have going on in our personal lives to serve others, and that gets lost in the fold sometimes, man. And it's hard to understand, and it's hard to explain, but I know it. I know that you know it. But if that brings you peace, Jay, I'm very proud of you for finding your peace. And
well, listen to this. My kid, she wants to be a cop. You know what I sat her down and said recently? Maybe this is a little bit sensationalized, but here it is. I said, you're getting ready to become a Jedi Knight. I said, but here's the problem. There's a lot of stormtroopers out here, dude. And I said, I wish I could be with you side by side to guide you through this, but I'm not going to be able to. And I think being a police officer is a very noble thing. It's very noble, because it is. You're sacrificing for, a lot of times, strangers. And we give more to strangers than we do to our own families, you know. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I lasted as long as I did. I know you're equally as proud as you should be, because a lot of guys, think about how many dudes only lasted 6 months, a year.
We just had a conversation the other day about a friend of ours who wanted nothing more than to be a cop from the time they were little. And they finally worked hard enough to make it into the profession, and less than 5 years in, it just came crumbling down because of the things they saw, the things they had to deal with. This profession is not for the faint of heart, man. And it takes every fiber out of you. And if you don't have it up here and you don't have it in here, it's going to crumble you, man.
Well, and, you know, that specific person we're talking about, there's a part of me, I feel sorry for her.
Me too.
And I feel sorry for a lot of the cops out here, because I know this. I've ran into some people. Here's the problem with law enforcement. A lot of these people, this is all they know how to do. And if you took it from them today, you know, when cops lose their jobs, what do you lose? You lose your livelihood and you use your identity in the same day. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it take people and just crush them.
And I could have very easily been one of them.
Yeah.
Because I stepped on it so many times throughout the course of my career. I found myself fighting for my livelihood because this is the only shit that I knew how to do. And I was good at it when my mind was right, you know? And yeah, man, like I feel that I could have very easily let that break me. And I didn't, because I felt like I had to fight, man.
And you know, I mean, I remember us talking, man, when you were telling me, hey, it's over, man. And I was like, you know, my advice to every guy is this: go find your next thing.
Right.
You got to go find something, dude. Because if you don't, I think just too many dudes go crawl inside of a bottle. And if you do that, you are going to be dead in 3 to 5 years.
You talked about your daughter a little bit. We don't really have a lot of conversations about Devin for the folks at home. Jason's daughter's, her name is Devin. Beautiful, beautiful young lady. I hadn't seen her in years. You and Devin came to my parents' house for Father's Day one year.
I do remember that.
And we all jumped in the pool and we're swimming around. That was the last memory I had of Devin. And then the other day, she showed up while we were having lunch, and I didn't even recognize her. Beautiful, beautiful young lady, just very, very polite.
Are you bothered by leg veins of any size, or is leg swelling or pain bugging you or someone you know? I would recommend that you make an appointment with our friends at Sequoia Vein and Wound to take care of it. With a friendly bilingual staff and their years of experience, they are happy to help resolve those issues. Give them a call to get a consult at 559-713-6478 and tell them that J-Mac sent you.
And let's talk about her a little bit.
Sure.
When you look at your daughter, what fills you with the deepest sense of pride about the woman that she's become?
You know what, man? She's strong. I love that about her, because she's had to be, you know, me and her mom, man, we were so on again, off again, on again, off again. It wasn't good. It just wasn't good. And Devin is strong, and she's very opinionated. And like even right now, dude, she's getting ready to get her associates. She did really well in high school. She's doing well at COS. I'm very proud of her, because I'm always I've always been preaching education to her. She's following that footsteps. Now she wants to be a police officer. And initially, I never wanted that for her, but it's something that she wants to do. But I'm very proud that there's something in her that wants to follow that thing.
Right. You set the tone for that.
Correct.
Right? What does she have? Any qualities in her that make you pause and think, man, she's stronger than I ever could have imagined?
Big time. You know what? Because initially, when she was younger, you know, she talked about being a cop at 5 years old, 10 years old. And I was like, yeah, whatever, man. But she's strong. And, you know, she had some health issues that she's overcome. And she's just, I always tell her this: you're a lot like me, which is good. But you're also a lot like me, which is not good.
Right.
And, but she is, what I love about her is she's very tenacious. She's very driven, like I'm driven. And I always tell her, if I gave you anything, I hope I gave you that drive to go forward and succeed and chase your dreams.
Well, I mean, I think it's great that she wants to follow in your footsteps. And I think as a parent, I can't really speak on that so much as you can, but there has to be a little bit of apprehension there just because of the fear factor. You know what this job entails, and we all want the best for our children, right? And so I could see the apprehension there.
I did. I told her that. I said, I would have never picked this for you. I was born to do it. I don't know if you are. I said, but if this is the path you want to go down, I will help you be the best one.
Well, your career choice demanded a lot of time away from home, right? Time. That time away from home, how do you think that shaped your relationship with Devin throughout the years?
Early on, it wasn't good, because I missed birthdays and Christmases and, you know, all the other, I really, you know, there's Geno. We miss out on all the good stuff because we're out here doing, you know, this law enforcement shit. But I will tell you this, there was a lot of years, you know, I mean, I would see her on the weekends, you know, and she would come stay with me and we would hang out. But it wasn't good because I missed so much of her early days. Now that I'm retired and I have time, Man, I'm almost begging to hang out with her now because,
Right.
I have to tell her sometimes, listen, kid, I'm asking you for 1 hour, 1 day a week to go to lunch with me. And sometimes she can do it and sometimes she can't. But I know this. I'm here, I'm available. And, it's just great to have these adult conversations with her. And, I really, she told me something about a year ago, which was really good to hear. She goes, Dad, I enjoy being around you a whole lot more now than I did when you were a cop. And I realized, this, man, we're so hyper vigilant and just the stuff about us. Sometimes it's not good, bro.
Right.
And so she goes, I can feel you being calm now. I can feel it in you. And she goes, and the way you talk to me, she goes, you just seem more at peace now. And I said, well, because I am,
Looking back now, I know you kind of hit on this just now, but what are some of the moments you wish you could have been more present for? And what have those reflections taught you as a father?
I wish I could.
Because you're never going to stop being a father.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could have been there for more of her birthdays and her, let's say her basketball and, her soccer games. Sometimes I had to miss those. I wish I could have been there for those milestones. But more so, I really wish I could have been there more full time with her because I was the weekend dad, right? And a lot of times I think that wasn't good. Because, I got to see her, let's say 8 days in a month, right? Man, that's tough. And, she bucked for a while, but, we're pretty solid now. But, man, there was a lot of years, man, where she was like, hey, you weren't there for my birthday. You weren't there for Christmas. You weren't there for New Year's. You weren't there for the holidays. And I used to tell her, it's not because I didn't want to be. A lot of times, my job was, you're not being asked. You're being told, get your ass to work.
And I can't imagine that a young child can quite comprehend that.
Big time, yeah.
At a young age. Would you consider yourself making amends with all of that lost time with Devin? And what does that look like?
It looks like this. I am trying to make amends and I am trying to spend more time with her. And, there's times that her schedule, because, she works and she goes to school. So sometimes she doesn't have the time. But I always tell her, listen, kid, this is what's interesting. Growing up, Geno, I lived less than 5 miles from my dad and I never saw him. Me and Devin, we live less than 3 miles from each other. And so I told her, I said, listen, I don't want you to be the person like I was where you didn't know your dad. I said, I'm here. I want to hang out with you. And so she does. She'll call me and be like, hey, Dad, let's go to lunch. And I'll pick her up. And we kind of have this little thing. We'll go to lunch and then we always drive around Tulare and look at all the old places I used to live. But it's just more about me and her hanging out. And then we always end up at the outlet center and buy candy apples.
Right. Is there any type of spiritual healing that has taken place between the two of you?
I think so.
When I see you guys together, and like I said, there's a bond there.
Big time.
There's a bond, and that stems from something. There has to be some type of foundation there that you guys can build on. Talk to me about the spiritual healing that both of you are going through right now.
Yeah, you know what, man? I know this. I'm a better person now. And, and I'll just be honest, man, I was trying to juggle my daughter and then, having a girlfriend and, and trying to juggle. Or trying to juggle these relationships, which wasn't good. And, but, now I'm married and, so I just think it's made me a lot more calmer, and I think she enjoys being around me. But then now she's 20, Geno. She's going to be 21 in January. Yeah. So now I can sit down and have these serious conversations. I can be honest, and I'm transparent with her. She's asked me some tough questions that are not fun to have to admit.
Right.
But I'm transparent with her, and I told her, listen, man.
Well, and she's at that age also where you can't bullshit a 20-year-old female. It's
and
better that you're
nor do I want to. I just told her, I said, I'm an open book. And, and I just told her, I said, I'm now trying to make amends to you. But I just think now when we go to lunch, we get to hang out, there's not that dark cloud hanging over our heads. I think it's just we're both at a good spot. I think she enjoys being around with hanging out with me. I definitely enjoy being around her.
Good.
And then we're very connected. I mean, shoot, dude, she looks just like me almost. Yeah, it's just like my mini me.
Right, right. Absolutely. And I wish Devin nothing but the best of luck if she does decide to pursue her career in law enforcement. She knows, I hope she knows that she's got a big uncle who's in her corner as well. Well, I'm not a big guy, but she's got Uncle Geno in her corner if she ever needs anything and you're unavailable, Jay. You talked a little bit about peace.
Yes.
And you talked about peace earlier too, and you mentioned your wife.
Correct.
Laura.
Correct.
For the viewers at home, Laura's nickname is Baby.
Correct.
So we're going to continue this podcast and refer to her as Baby because that's her nickname, and that's what everybody who knows her calls her. So when you think of Baby, what's the first word that comes to your heart and why?
Home. That's, man, I tell you something, dude, she came out of nowhere and dude, you know what's so interesting? I'm at peace more so anytime than this. I'm not an animal person, bro. And my wife came out of nowhere and I went from living alone to me, Baby, 3 dogs and a cat, right? And so my life is way different than I ever could imagine it, but dude, I'm at peace. This morning, dude, I'm out walking, Nola and Romeo, my 2 French bulldogs. Then I come home, I let my little, Chihuahua mix out in the backyard. And then I got a cat screaming at me to feed her. The cat's name is Mama Cat. And so I'm now Mr. Mom to all these animals. And when Baby's at work, and even when Baby's at home, I'm still Mr. Mom. But dude, like yesterday, we were on the couch watching movies all day. And you know what? It's just, I'm at peace when it's me, her, and these animals laying all over me. And I'm living a life that I could have never imagined. But
I know exactly how you feel, Jay. And just, hey, look, I'm going to preface this portion of this podcast by simply saying, just bear with us, folks. This topic gets extremely emotional for Jay as it does me too, because we share a similar story when it comes to our wives.
Big time.
And I like that term home.
Yeah.
It means something.
It does.
It really does.
It does.
And guys like us, we lived lives of chaos for so long. And to find peace at home, I don't know about you, but it means the world to me.
Big time.
Along with the life of chaos, you lived a life filled with pressure and responsibility. How has Baby been your anchor?
Dude, you know what's great about her is I can tell her what's going on with me, right? This happened, that happened, whatever it is. And dude, she just has a perspective that she gives me that a lot of times I just wouldn't even think to look at it the way she does. And the way she talks to me, Baby had a hard life before we got together. And, when we got together, I told her this. I said, if we're going to do this, then I want to do it the real way. And I said, I will never let you down. And I don't. But Baby, dude, it's like the thing about her that I just respect Geno so much is she's overcome so much. And every time something gets thrown at her, dude, she's so resilient, but she just gives me peace and comfort, and she talks to me, and just the way she's around me. Dude, we don't have any stress at home. We don't argue.
As a man who is as physically and emotionally strong as you are, I can see her giving you strength in a lot of the things that you lack.
Correct.
And I've been around her long enough to know that she is a shining light in your life.
Big time.
Can you please share a moment where she truly carried you through a very difficult time?
Dude, that year getting my master's degree. Dude, I must have bitched to her about 1 or 2,000 times during that year, dude. And you know what? What I love about her is non-judgmental. And this is what she would be like. Just do the work. Just get through it. But dude, she had to listen to me complain so much, Geno, because I was miserable that year. I was miserable. And she was just there. Like, she came with me to my graduation. You know, we stayed across the street from Disneyland, and we just had a great weekend, and we just made it a blast. And I had my graduation, and we came home. And I remember as we're pulling in, she's like, now this episode is over, Jay. She's like, you made it. You know, but she did. She had to listen to me, but she was just so supportive, dude.
What is it about her strength that you admire the most?
I could tell you something, man. Every morning, my wife gets up at 4:45, bro, and then drives to Fresno. That's an hour.
That's a trek, man.
Hey, dude.
And then traffic?
Hey, an hour to get to work, does a 12-hour shift and come home. Every morning, this is what I tell her. Go get them. I'm proud of you, right? Because baby was working at Sierra View. Then she went over to Tulare. They shut down their OB. Baby was at work, dude. They called them all in. They were like, hey, we're shutting down our OB. Y'all out of work tomorrow. And so she went. Now she's at St. Agnes. But, dude, baby is resilient. But she's such a sweetheart. And, dude, she takes care, you know, even before we got together, dude, she's living with her mom, helping her mom. She's helped all of her kids. She's got 5 kids. They're all grown now. And baby is just a solid person. And she's honestly, Geno, and I'm not just saying it because it's my wife. She's one of the best people I know. Just heart of gold, man.
Awesome.
Heart of gold.
I agree. How has her presence shaped the man that you are today, both personally and professionally?
She's been a big helper with this, where, you know, she is always telling me, you know, she listens to him when she's at work, and she'll be like, hey, I like the way you did this, or you know what, you need to tighten this part up, or, you know, she's always giving me just positive affirmations. Plus, man, when we're at home, you know, she just has this way about her, you know, like we like to eat out a lot. You know, we just do, man. You know, she's on the go, I'm on the go. So on our days off, and I don't have the patience to cook. I'm really good at paying people to cook. But anyways, she is the center of our home. She is, you know, a lot of days, there's 3-4 days a week I'm at home alone with the dogs, dude. And she's at work because I'm retired and I don't have to work. And, but I'm at the point in my life, Geno, I don't want anybody telling me what to do anymore. And I don't have to. I have a very robust retirement check. And so I'm at the point in my life to where this podcast and these books, this is my job now, period.
I'm going to stretch out on a limb here and say something probably a bit bold.
Yeah.
But having known you for so long, I think it's fair to say that she saved your life.
Big time.
Whether it was out in the open for everybody to see or quietly at home when all of the doors were closed and it was just you two.
Yeah.
Talk about how she did that.
During COVID. Dude, so during COVID, that was a weird time in our country or in the world, period, right? Dude, baby would come and we would hang out on her days off. And I didn't really hang out with a lot of people during COVID. Baby was it, right? But man, during that time, Geno, I started to realize my rough edges, they started to smooth out, right? And I just realized that I was battling PTSD. I was battling the job. And so, dude, she was there at the tail end of me closing out my career.
Right.
You know, she picked me up the day I retired. And
did she pick you up from the parking lot of the police department?
She did.
You turned in all your gear, your keys, your equipment, everything, and just
hey, dude, trip out on this.
Bye.
Bro. I'm driving away, and I'm looking in that rearview mirror, and we're going northbound on Stevenson, which is the backside of the PD. And I get to center. I look in the rearview mirror. I make that left onto center, and the PD no longer was on an interview. By noon that day, I was a civilian, bro.
Tell me about that conversation you two had in the car. Where did you guys go? Where did you end up? Tell me about that.
I went home, took off my uniform, and threw on some civilian clothes, and we went and had lunch at Chapala.
Okay.
And I remember going, man, this feels so weird.
Was it a celebratory lunch, or was it? Were you sad? Tell me about the emotions you felt.
No, man. I was happy that I made it to the end. I was proud. But, you know, man, I had 24 years wrapped up in this, bro. And so there was no sadness. There was just, I'm happy. I didn't know what was coming next because there was a whirlwind coming.
Right.
I didn't know that. But I was happy. We had lunch. I had a couple of drinks. And it felt good. And I remember there were some people there. And people were like, you know, because everybody and their mama kind of knew I was leading up to it, because I would tell everybody, hey, I got, 6 months to go to retirement. So people were like, hey, Jay, how much longer? And I was like, it was today. I just retired.
How long had you been dating Baby before you retired?
So I met her in 2019, and I retired in January 6th, 2021, which was my birthday, the day I turned 50.
Okay. So she had a little bit of a front row seat to the latter part of your career.
She did.
Which I'm sure, you were on the downslope, and so you weren't, you said you rounded out a little bit, which is good. But then you went to work for another agency, correct?
I did.
You were a train cop.
Yes.
Okay.
So I went to Amtrak. And, I remember thinking, hey, I'll double dip, And
she went through that with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had the PERS. I had the Amtrak money, and Amtrak pays well. But, man, I was trying to be a cop in Kern County, Kings County, Fresno County, and going as far up as Modesto, dude, with no backup. I was getting in crazy stuff on trains. Then I was having to get sent out to people getting ran over trains. A train is going 78 miles an hour. Just the part with the motor, the actual engine, that's 1,000,000 pounds. When it hits somebody going 78 miles an hour, it chops people in two. And, so I would show up, and there would be a head over there and a foot over there and a leg over there. And I was out there one day, and I'm working this wreck. And I remember thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing, Jay? What are you doing?
You seem to ask yourself that question often. Yeah,
but I was
it makes me question your decision making.
But I was chasing the paycheck, and when you're chasing a paycheck, it's not good.
No.
And I remember when I put in my 2-week notice, I was at peace, bro.
So it's safe to say that during that stint with Amtrak, you experienced some bad days, to say the least.
I did. But you know what? I met some great people. Some very great people. And I would be remiss if I didn't name a couple of them. But one of my supervisors' name was Madhu Karup. Mm-hmm. And Madhu, he's up in Sacramento. And then there was another guy, his name is Isaac Benabu, and he's like one of their lead detectives. But these dudes really were so good to me. But I will tell you this, Amtrak pays a lot of jack. But here in the Central Valley, for me to go to the range, dude, I had to drive to Sacramento just to go to the range, dude.
So you're burning up that jack on gas and wear and tear on your vehicle.
Yeah. And it was just, I wasn't happy. And
gotcha.
You know what? And
hey, so on those bad days, like we all have, while you were on the job, what did Baby's support look like on those days when your work felt like it was overwhelming or it was heavy?
It was, and guess what? It was taking me away from her a lot, because now she's on her days off, and where am I at? I'm up in, I'd be up in Modesto or Merced or, even Stockton. And, I was like, and then one day I was just like this, I don't want to be away from her that much. And I was just like, and money doesn't mean nothing, bro, when you're not happy. And I wasn't happy. So, you know what? And now I get to spend as much time with her as I want.
Good.
Which that's where I want to be.
Good. What are some of the qualities that Baby possesses that you hope others can learn from her?
I think her work ethic is just legit, bro. Like, I always tell her, I'm very impressed with her work ethic, dude. She puts in overtime. She works hard. She's a very good provider. But the biggest thing about her, man, is just her heart. She's just such a sweetheart. And you know what? She's so good to me. She's so good to our animals. She's so good to her kids. She's good to everybody. Like her mom right now. Her mom's battling cancer, dude. And baby, dude, on her days off, drives over to Porterville, takes her mom to her chemotherapy. That's just baby, dude. Baby is just about taking care of others. Very, very selfless.
She is very, very selfless. And that's a great word that you use to describe her, because I've known you a lot longer than I've known baby.
Yeah.
And every single time that we've been together and have associated in a group, you have a commanding presence. You dominate a room. You have a loud voice. That is no secret. And baby lets you be you.
She does.
She is so supportive of who you are as a person, which gives me relief because I know that's what you need.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to her, her personality. She is an absolute doll. And you are a very, very lucky man, Jay.
I am.
If you could say one thing fully, openly, and from the deepest place in your heart, what would you tell her?
I would tell her, thank you. Thank you for coming into my life when I didn't even know I needed you. But you have saved me. You've shown me love that I've never been shown. You have been a steady presence for these 7 years. I know I'm meant to be with you for the rest of my days. And with all of it, I love you. I cherish my time with you. I cherish my life with you. And I wished I could have met you 25 years ago, but I didn't. And for her, speaking to her, your presence has saved me. You've shown me just what true love is. And sometimes, Geno, I'm sitting on the couch or laying on the couch. She comes over there and just kisses me, lays next to me, hugs me. And bro, I just feel I am at the biggest peace in my whole life. And dude, I didn't find that until I was 48 years old. That's sad, but there's strength in the fact that I got lucky and I did find it.
It's very ironic that you and I both found true love late in life. Late
I love
40s
your wife, by the way, sweetheart.
Those relationships, man, they happen for a reason at the perfect time.
I agree.
And I can't speak highly enough about baby. Like I said earlier, that we share a lot of similarities with our relationships with our wives. They're both amazing human beings, and just the best of the best, man.
I agree.
And so I'm very, very proud of you. You said this one time. You had to kiss a lot of frogs to find your princess.
I sure did.
And we both, like I said, we both
women than I got freckles, bro. You know
we both lived lives of chaos, and a lot of that chaos was self-generated.
Oh yeah,
to be quite honest, to take some responsibility.
Yeah, I had a lot of self-inflicted wounds, man.
Right.
Yeah. You know what though? But I realized, man, I had some years, man, where I was hell on wheels, dude. I was drinking, partying, chasing women, all that, and
do you think it's a coincidence that we both kind of, for lack of better terms, struck gold late in life when we did at the end of our careers?
I think is what it was. I think we were open to it at the end of our careers. Because I think, and I have a lot of respect for Neba. I love your wife. She's a sweetheart. She's been nothing but awesome to me. But I don't know if you and her would have worked out early on in your career.
I don't either.
Yeah, because
as a matter of fact, I'll do you one better. I know for a fact that we would not have worked out early on in my career. I was very, very selfish. I was career-oriented. All I cared about was putting on that uniform and doing what was best for me. I ruined a lot of relationships because of my narcissism. And, I take responsibility for that. And it took me a lot to get to the point to where I'm at today. But I do think that at the end of my career, as I started to evolve as a person, I think I was more open to that.
I totally
the possibility of being true to somebody and settling down and exploring marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, you joke with me all the time about, man, I thought you were going to be single forever.
I did.
So did I,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
but yeah, that is definitely true.
Well, I think you needed a strong woman. Neba is a strong woman because number one, Neba ain't gonna put up with no bullshit. You know what I mean? So there's that. I think that is I think that's what you needed, right? You needed a woman that, Neba is highly educated, very successful, very motivated. That's what you needed, and that is what you were not getting in your previous relationships.
There is truth to that. Absolute
and
truth.
And so it's like every time I'm around your wife, I always know this: she's very, very successful, and she's very, very dedicated, and her story's great. Coming here from Mexico, learning English, becoming very successful. Plus, pretty much ran Lindsay,
Right.
and then now what she does now. Your wife's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much, and I know that she'll appreciate that too when she hears this. Man, I love you for that. Thank you very much. And obviously that's twofold, and that goes right back to baby too, because she knows how I feel about her and the things that she's done for you, and how my wife and I feel about her. Let's change the tempo a little bit.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's move on to a lightning round.
All right.
All right. I've got some things that I want to ask, and I think it will shed some more light on who you are as a person outside of how a lot of people know you.
Got it.
So, question number 1. Are you a early bird or a night owl?
I'm an early bird.
Early bird. Tell me why.
You know what, man?
I know this is a lightning round, but I'm curious. I want to know.
Well, for me, I get up in the morning in a really good mood, and I like to walk my dogs. I like to work out. I like to do all that in the early morning. I like to cut my yard in the morning. I like to do all that. Even when I'm out drinking or partying or whatever, hey man, I got a hard and fast rule. Nothing good happens after 10,
Right.
dude. So 9:45, I'm heading towards it. And now, a lot of times, if you think about when me and you are having beers, we're doing it at 4 o'clock in the
Right.
afternoon.
Yeah, I'm
dude.
home by I'm home by 4.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm not.
I am definitely. I don't like to stay out till 2 in the morning
Right.
because I just think that's when a lot of people get their ass in trouble. So I am an early bird to the bone.
Got it. Coffee or energy drink?
Rock stars, baby.
One word that defines your career.
Tenaciousness.
Most underrated skill in law enforcement. Now take your time on that one.
Yeah, listening. I think we fail to listen. I think we already show up and we just want to control the tempo so much that I think a lot of times we don't listen enough.
Got it. Go-to way to decompress after a long day.
Watching movies.
You sure? I think you're lying. I think you're lying.
What?
I think you go home and you pour a bath, you put some suds in it, you light a bunch of candles, and that's how you decompress.
Well-
I'm going to call bullshit on that
Well,
one.
back when I was working, a bath was always my thing. But today, if you ask me today, I love to watch movies.
Gotcha. What's your favorite movie?
Oh man, dude. Well, a couple of them. The first Halloween, the 1978 version, right? So,
Most of your listeners probably weren't born then, but okay.
So that one, Jaws, right?
Okay, great one.
And Heat.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So in fact, we watched Heat yesterday.
Yeah, they're coming out with a second part.
Yeah. And so, Shawshank Redemption, you throw that one in there.
Amazing.
I'd say the first season of True Detective, right? I'd throw that in there.
Okay.
McConaughey's phenomenal on that.
Favorite off-duty activity?
Hanging out with baby or friends.
One book everyone should read.
The Finishing School by Dick Couch.
What's it about?
That's about a Navy SEAL class.
Okay.
But
What Bud's class?
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you remember?
Yeah, 228.
Okay.
And then what they do is, but then it shows when they go on to SEAL qualification training. And there's just so much that I've gleaned from that I've used it throughout my career.
Gotcha.
And there's so much positivity from this book. And it's honestly, Geno, I've read this book probably 20 times.
How old is the author? Because Class 228 is around Marcus Luttrell's class.
Luttrell was in that class.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Dick Couch is actually is a retired Navy SEAL, but
Okay.
he was actually a CIA officer. So this guy's older than me. I mean, he's
Okay.
like in his 70s.
Gotcha.
But his book, in fact, he does one on Class 228.
Okay.
And then this is following up when they go to the finishing school, which is
Is it fiction or is it?
no, it's all fact.
All
and
fact.
it's got all those dudes in it. And
Amazing.
you ought to read it, dude.
Amazing.
It is phenomenal.
Gotcha. Gut instinct or careful analysis?
No, man, I'm gut instinct, bro, all day.
Biggest misconception about police work, and you can take your time on this one too, because this is an important topic.
I think the biggest misconception is it's all like action and, and fighting and pulling guns and all that. And I think that is the biggest misconception because it's actually the flip. It's 99% boredom and 1% true terror. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And then after that 1% of true terror is over, you have another 99% of paperwork that needs to get done.
Correct.
One trait every great leader must have.
Empathy.
Favorite place to clear your mind.
Home.
Music or silence when you drive.
Music, and it's normally Depeche Mode.
Good choice.
Yeah.
One lesson the streets taught you.
I would say how strong I am.
Hardest part of the job, emotionally.
Carrying the weight of the things we saw and not letting that weight crush you.
Most rewarding part of the job.
Helping others.
I'm really curious about this one.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of skills.
Yeah.
And I've said that over the course of our friendship. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I have remained friends for so long is because we can get together and have a beer and talk about just about anything off topic from law enforcement.
Big time.
And you need that sometimes.
Yeah.
So if not law enforcement, what career would you have gone into?
An actor.
What would your stage name have been?
Dave Cannon.
One word to describe teamwork.
Synergy. And synergy means this. That means things that are by themselves, but now come together for the collective good. And we used to say that back when we were in the gang unit, right? And so that is something that I know this. I've said this before, and some people don't like to hear this, but it's the truth of it. There's a lot of cops that were predators with a pack of wolves. I was a predator by myself. But some of these other cops I was with, when we were together, I would say me, Nate, Dom, Gib, Luma, that bunch right there, I think that bunch right there was unstoppable.
Well, I'm not quite sure how many units there were before that group, but I can tell you, personally speaking, that was a very formidable group.
A big time.
Well-rounded, a lot of different personalities, but as a unit collectively, that unit generated a lot of respect, not only from within its own ranks, within the department itself, but surrounding agencies as well. I remember working in Lindsay when that unit was still up and running, and people knew we don't mess around with Visalia's SEU unit.
Well, think about this. I mean, even before that group, I mean, you had McIntosh,
right,
Grant, right? Those guys, they were the 1-2 knockout punch, man. I mean, dude, both of those guys gotten crazy shootings. So they were the engine of that.
Gotcha.
And then you had Dominic and Gibb. And then when McIntosh and Grant came out, Me and Flaws took their spots.
Gotcha.
And so, but man.
Well, Grant and McIntosh are not only outstanding police officers, they are absolute legends within the law enforcement community, not only at Visalia, but all around. And I had the honor of working with Jeff while I was at Visalia. We actually worked a lot together, and I just was in awe of his presence. When he walked into a room, you might as well have stood at attention.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Awesome dude. Just an awesome fucking dude. What's your biggest strength?
My intelligence.
A weakness you've had to overcome.
My lack of patience.
Best advice you've ever received.
Stay focused, right? Don't get too cocky, right? Because I've had to struggle with that.
No.
And then my third one, and probably this saved me more so than anything, was before you do something stupid, stop, count to 10, and then make your decision. That right there saved me from a lot of stupid mistakes.
Did you ever fail at that and it did not save you?
Big
and
time.
To give me a story, give me an example if you can think of one.
Yeah. I could tell you this. Once I got to like SEU, right? Me and the supervisor didn't get along. And there were times I said stuff that I wish I hadn't. But by then, I had already come to despise this person. And so before I could count to 10, I just had it in me where I just had to say what I had to say. And, if I could go back then, I would just say, Jay, shut your mouth. Because I think it stopped me from getting promoted down the road. But I'm one of those people, I'll sweep up. I just won't eat shit while I do it. And I just can't.
Gotcha. I want you to take your time on this one too.
Yeah.
Because I am personally curious. Give me one thing that people don't know about you.
Probably that I'm softer than a lot of people see. I think people look at me sometimes that I'm hard because I had to do all these hard things. But I really am, dude. Sometimes I'm still that little boy looking for my dad's love. Sometimes I'm that kid that hasn't achieved anything. So sometimes I am soft, and I think people lose that because I think a lot of people look at me and go, "Man, Jay, you got to do all this stuff." But I am, man. I'm a softie at heart sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And I never knew that until you started this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep saying this over and over and over again, but it's therapeutic. It's therapeutic for you to talk about these things. It's therapeutic for your guests. It's therapeutic for your listeners.
You know what somebody just told me about Patty's episode? He said, "Do you know what made Patty's episode so good?" He goes, "Obviously Patty was great." He goes, "But Jay," he goes, "you being open and being emotional about it." And I said, I couldn't help it. That topic, Geno, for whatever reason, it affected me in ways I wasn't expecting. I mean, I knew it was going to be emotional because it's a sad story.
Right.
But a buddy of mine told me, he goes, "Dude, I was blown away by how you navigated that story, Jay." And I was like, I said, "Well, man, that's me. That really is me. That's the real Jay." And, a lot of people don't get to see that, but that really is me.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And you have been more vulnerable than I could have imagined discussing some of these things. But it does go to show you that a lot of the stories that are being told, they do strike. They strike a chord, and it is hard not to get emotional or show some vulnerability because you are a very hard, strong person, as am I. And,
I just think the topics that we're talking about a lot of times, brother, they're too important to not give these things the reverence that they deserve. And so I'm very cognizant, man, when somebody's telling me something that's very affected them, that something in me, bro. I mean, dude, a lot of times during these interviews, man, I'm choked up, dude. And I can't control it when it hits. And when it does, I have no choice but to just power through it, but I have to show people my emotion.
And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I agree.
Nothing
I
wrong
agree.
with that. Moving on.
Yeah.
Courtroom or field work?
Oh, field work, man. Courtrooms, man, I hated them.
Favorite type of casework?
Believe it or not.
Let me rephrase that because I didn't say that right.
Yeah.
What is your favorite type of case to work?
Believe it or not, all my cases in the YSO unit.
Yeah.
That time for me, Geno, 8 years collectively throughout my career was magical. Magical. Because it was my own show. Nobody messed with me. I got to make my own decision. Yeah, I had a supervisor, but he was, most of the time, both of them were non-existent. So it was me. I handled it the way I saw fit. But then I would have to go into these meetings with principals and area administrators and, bigwigs. And I literally would have to navigate all these things. But it really, and the biggest part of that story is this. It made me a better husband. It made me a better father. And it made me, more importantly, a better person.
Were a lot of those cases that you worked as a YSO, did they result in accountability up to your standard?
No. And I will tell you this. There were times I had to go in and have meetings with principals and, they didn't want stuff to happen. But I used to tell people, I'm doing this. This is happening because there's just times that we have to hold people accountable. And guess what? I don't have a problem. We send it to the DA's office and they don't prosecute the case. I don't care. I did what I was supposed to do.
Well, the reason I ask that follow-up question is because I know how
the juvenile system
the juvenile court system in the state of California operates.
Oh, it's horrible.
And when it comes to accountability, the percentage rate is close to zero.
Yeah, it's not good. And you know what? I even touched on it with Patty's episode. A lot of people don't realize we can't ask a juvenile one question anymore. Right. How are you supposed to properly investigate cases when you can't interview the suspect? Right. It makes no sense to me, but...
while we're on the topic of Patty's interview, what's lost in all of that, Jay, is that you guys barely scraped the surface of that entire story because Journey is who you talked about. Journey has a little sister, Jenny.
That's right.
And Jenny was about to be subjected to the same type of treatment that Journey was. And had it not been for Patty doing what she does, she could have saw the same fate.
Also, too, you brought up something, and for the folks at home, Patty's son and the lady that gave birth to the kids, they both got 9 years in prison. We didn't even get to talk about that. And
and there's so much more to discuss when it comes to that. And I know that you and I have talked. We're working behind the scenes to try to make an episode or get together and put forth an episode for the listeners and the viewers who are interested in that podcast to kind of get some closure on that and discuss some follow-up and some of the things that happened after the fact. And
Patty's a rock star, by the way.
Absolutely. And so hopefully that comes to fruition. Back to your lightning round. One habit that's helped your success.
My dedication, my motivation, those two things, man. I'm driven, bro. I'm driven, man. And sometimes it's a blessing and sometimes it's a curse. But man, I am motivated and I'm dedicated. But I always know this, man. Again, I just think it always goes back to my childhood where I'm still trying to show a man that's dead that I'm worthy. Right. You know what I mean?
Name a moment that you'll never forget, whether on duty professionally or in your personal life.
I would say it'll always probably go back to the Boucher shooting. I'll always take it back to that. That was, and none of us knew it at the time, but that was the undisputed heavyweight champion of calls, right? Nobody knew it.
Right.
We had, we went to some stuff right before that because we had the Print Excel shooting
Right,
where the guy
right.
set the building on fire. I was there for that. We got to watch all that crazy stuff play out. But that Boucher shooting, I will tell you something right now. That right there, hands down, out of 100,000 calls for service, there ain't even nothing close. There's a few that are in that ballpark, but that right there. And I think it was just because that whole day from beginning to end was crazy because we were coming from a homicide. Then we have the Boucher thing. Then I had to go and work the rest of the day as a YSO, dude. You know what I mean? It was crazy, man.
Yeah. What keeps you grounded?
Right now it's baby. Baby has made me, honestly, Geno, she's made me a better person. She's made me a different person than I could have imagined because I didn't see her coming. I didn't expect her, and I found her when I wasn't looking.
Isn't it weird how that always happens?
It does.
Right.
It does. And but she is truly my rock. She is truly keeps me grounded. And there's times, man, where she's been like, "Hey, man, that was wrong. You shouldn't have done that." And I know when she tells me that, I take it on board and I take it serious.
Awesome. And you better give her flowers when she wants flowers.
Yeah. And an orange. Yeah.
Define integrity in one sentence.
Obviously doing the right thing when nobody's watching, man. That's you think about how much that got drilled into us, right? Do the right thing when nobody's watching, right? And that means this, dude. I mean, when I was transporting females, dude, I hauled ass to the jail. You know how many times I've stuck around hours after work booking evidence on stuff that nobody cared about. But guess what? 4 or 5 days, I would get called in and they would go, "Hey, man, who authorized you to do this overtime?" I'd be like, "I had 25 pieces of evidence. What do you guys want me to do?" And I would rather do it the right way because I saw too many examples of what happens when you do it the wrong and get zapped. And so I always tried to do it the right way.
One message to the next generation.
Go for your dreams, but always know this. It's not going to be easy because if it was easy, everybody would do it. You're going to get spanked. You're going to get slapped. You're going to get knocked down. Don't give up.
Legacy in one word.
Legacy for me is living a life of honesty, integrity, doing the right thing, helping people, being a positive member of society, and just being, I think, just helping people. If I could break it all down to one thing, help other people that are not as fortunate as yourself.
Here's a phrase that I think exemplifies who you are. Be in service of others.
Damn right.
How do you want to be remembered? Is it that?
That would probably be it if you really want to break it down to brass tacks.
Yeah. Just one word.
Yeah.
Describe Lori. Baby.
Oh. Beautiful.
Do the same about Devin.
Tenacious.
Just like that.
Yep.
Describe a moment with baby that you will never forget.
The day I married her. Geno, she wrote me this. I put it on my Facebook, but she wrote me like this letter. And I'll paraphrase this section of it, but this is what it says. I promise to love you more than I've ever loved anybody. I promise to be there for you. I promise to do all these things. And she has never wavered from that. The day I married her, she was so happy. I was so happy. And when we got home that night, right before we went to bed, she was literally giggling because she was so happy. That, to me, is something I always hold in my heart, dude.
She read it to you?
Yeah, she read it to me. That was her vows. Her vow was about this long.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a very eloquent speaker. But, dude, I get to that, trying to follow that up. I was like, Scoop Hammond married us, right?
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Scoop? Yeah.
And even Scoop's like, hey, Jay, is that all you got? And I was like, well, man, now I'm all emotional. But no, dude.
I got married, and I don't mean to change the topic here, but I got married in on beautiful Carmel Beach.
Oh, beautiful.
It was the best day of my life. And during my wedding reception, I gave a speech and thanked and acknowledged everybody that was in attendance that day, and especially my wife. And when it was her turn to speak, Jay, she got up and she acknowledged everybody in attendance that day, except her husband.
Yeah.
Didn't bother to say a word about me, and I'm gonna make her remember that for the rest of her life with me.
I love it.
Yeah. Give me an example or something that Devin has done that has made you instantly proud.
She did so well in high school, and then she also has done so well at COS, and she's overcome some health issues. And those three things just collectively, because I've always been preaching at her, education, and she's followed through with that. And now her telling me she wants to be a cop, I was instantly, I'm proud, dude. I'm proud because there's something, I did something right, Geno, for her to see that and want to follow in those footsteps.
You absolutely did. And I'll piggyback off that thought before we close this podcast. And I will just simply say this. You did do something right, and you are on the right path to be surrounded by people like Lori, our baby, and Devin, and your friends and colleagues, former colleagues, to be surrounded by those types of people who just absolutely love and adore you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
You are doing something right, Jay. And I'm going to read you guys this ending quote before we get into Jay's final thoughts. It's been an honor to sit here in this chair and have the opportunity to interview Jay on this episode. A life shaped by discipline, sharpened by experience, and elevated through education becomes something greater than a career. It becomes a compass for others to follow. You stand as a testament to what it means to evolve without losing purpose, from the structured precision of military service to the relentless demands of law enforcement, to the thoughtful clarity of an educator and investigator. Your knowledge was not only earned in classrooms, but forged in real moments, where decisions carried weight and integrity was the only true north. With every role you stepped into, you have not simply performed. You have built, guided, protected, and uncovered truth where it was hidden. And in doing so, you remind us that real experience is not just measured by titles, but by the lives impacted along the way. In the end, your story is not just one of service, it is one of transformation, where experience became wisdom and wisdom became legacy.
Love it, brother. Love it.
Your final thoughts, Jay?
Well, brother, number one, I love the fact that you were willing to step in and do this. In fact, when I thought of the person that was going to do this, you're the only person I thought of. You, Marco, are the two guys that have been, when I do an episode, I know this. I don't feel right until I've talked to you, and I don't feel right until I've talked to Marco, because you guys give it to me straight. I mean, you guys have both been like this. Jay, these are good episodes, or hey, could have did this better, or you need to get better at this, or whatever. Your guidance, your friendship over these last 20 years has been something that I'll always cherish, dude. You are a good man, Geno. And I love how supportive of this podcast you have been. It means a lot to me because I put my heart and soul into these. So just know you are continued to be part of this. And I know this, man. I mean, I'll call you right after and hey, man, did you watch it? Because I always want to get your feedback. It's so important to me. It's more important to me than I even let on, because I know this. You're always going to give it to me straight. Right?
Absolutely.
And so just know, brother, man, I love you. You're my boy. I consider you more than a friend. I look at you as family to me. Me and baby think the world of you. We think the world of Neba. We think the world of your family. And just know I'm going to have you back on here again somewhere down the road, because I just think that me and you, we could do this all day, every day, and still have fresh stuff to talk about. But with that, before we wrap up, is there anything, or you're done?
Just once again, Jay, thank you. It was an honor, and it means a lot. And what you're doing here on this podcast, we've talked about it over and over and over again. It's having an impact. It's having a positive impact on people's lives. And I just want, once again, to acknowledge all of the guests that you've had on here previously. I am personally inspired by every single one of their stories. I'm inspired by what you're doing and the platform that you're giving these folks to talk to and tell their stories.
Love it.
Appreciate it.
Well, folks, next week I'll have a new guest. And with that, I'll leave you with my quote I always leave you with. Good luck, God bless, and Godspeed.